Good evening, Soul Tribe. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. Welcome. Come on in, check in the room. Let us know where you're from. It's my pleasure to see everybody. Come on in the room, family. Oh, it is Tuesday evening, May the 12th, 2026, and the time is 9:31 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check in, family. We won't be on long, so check in. We're going to answer the question, do you have to have a status correction to remain on the land or to be considered sovereign in America? Come in and let me hear your thoughts.
Hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. Through her channel,
I'm well.
knowledge flows, breaking chains that hold us close, teaching paths to abundance and wealth, guiding others to free themselves. Soul Tribe rising, hear her call.
Hey, Sister Janine. Thank you for your encouragement today. Sister Janine, our moderator, thank you for sending me a gift earlier today. I appreciate you so much. I feel well. I feel better, family. Thank you, Rev. I feel better. May the 12th be with you. Come in, family. Check in.
She's helping her tribe to realign with wisdom, ancient and new, showing what we all can do.
Tennessee's in the house. Greetings. Thanks, Rev. Great evening, Kelly. Mother Pruitt. Hi, Ace. Home Mountain's in the house. Hey, still with me,
Tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way.
Hi, Base the Nation.
To a brighter, freer day. Soul Tribe rising, hear her call.
Safe return, Brother James.
For one and all.
Hey,
Dr. Kia lights the way to a new.
Hey, Vermont. Oh, you're so sweet. I do feel better. Greetings. Thank you. Oh, somebody said I look beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Well, hello, family. This is Tuesday night. You know, I lose my day sometimes. That's crazy. Sometimes when you go throughout your day, you don't even know what day of the week it is. And I actually kind of like that, to not be on anybody's time. Imagine not really caring about time or what day it is. That might be why they call it CP time, like colored people's time. Like we do things on our own time. It's the same when you go to the islands, to the Caribbean. They say they have island time. I love sometimes not knowing what time it is, but I also at the same time appreciate being on time or on schedule when I'm supposed to be somewhere. So thank you so much. Ellen is I'm glad to see you too. Thank you for your kind words. Joyous evening to you, Sister Kim. I am feeling better. Thank you so much. You all are amazing. Thank you. It's good to see somebody said, "Good to see you feeling yourself again." Thank you. I do feel myself. Thank you. You all are so wonderful. I love you. I love you all so very much. Hit the like button. Thank you, Sister Janine, for the reminder. Hit the like button as you come into the room, family. We love you so much. Hey, King David, King James in the house. Good evening, family. I need to interview. Who's Yak? Oh, Yaku? I've never heard of Yaku. If you give me Yaku's information and maybe tell them him or her to email me at kiapruitt@gmail.com, I would strongly consider that. I don't know who that is. Thank you for the recommendation. Greetings, Alan. Greetings. You got to get your dance on. Be right back. Hit the like button, family. Oh, they Dr. Kia shows the way. I love that too, to a brighter, freer day. There's a gentleman by the name of Brother Kenneth. He is a part of our Soul Tribe membership group. He wrote the theme song for me. He wrote a theme song for Chief Mac. He wrote a song for some other people as well. And pray for Brother Kenneth. He doesn't want to come on the show to show his face or anything, but I'm so grateful that he wrote our theme song. I love it. You know, some of you have said you appreciate it as well. Pray for him. He just lost his mom. So we want to send prayers for him and his family, that the Creator will comfort him. And, you know, even in the middle of her being sick, he still was encouraging me, sending me emails saying, keep going forward. He talked to me about how to progress my channel. He wrote the theme song for me. He even did a video for the theme song. And I'll put it up again on my channel. So I'm really grateful for Brother Kenneth, but he's going through it right now. And I know he's going through a hard time, because anybody, you know, anytime you lose someone, it's hard. I can't even imagine a mom. I lost my dad, and it took me years to get over, and I'm still not over it. And my dad, I lost him in 2012. So I can only imagine how painful this is for him. So pray for the brother who wrote our theme song, and for all those who lost loved ones. Hi, Journey. It's a hard thing to go through. Hi, Rev. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. I love you all too. Hello, family. You created your own calendar. All right, T. Lovely evening. Hi, Andrea. Good to see you. Good evening, everybody. Please like the channel. Thank you, and subscribe. Thank you so much, Rev. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for liking. You forget the days too, right? The days, the time. So, you know, for the longest I kept saying it was what April, and my children were like, it's May, definitely May. Because I be forgetting. I just love living that type of lifestyle where you don't have to remember the days, you know, days of the week. So yes, please, we're sending our condolences out to our brother. Gratitude. Thank you, Grady. I appreciate you. We send our sincere condolences to Brother Kenneth, and pray that the Most High and the ancestors will encourage his soul. Oh, Yaki Awakening. The herbalist, I've seen him with the locks. Sometimes he wear the hat on top of his locks. A brown, dark skinned brother, a deep brown skinned brother, talks about herbalist living, lifestyle, eating well. Okay, yes, is it Yaki or Yaku Awakening? I know who you're talking about. I just need to find out how to get a hold of him. I would love to interview him. We're also going to have Farmer Dre on. Is today Wednesday? Lord, I told you I don't know what day it is. Let me see. Oh, it's Tuesday. You thought it was Wednesday. Child, I was like, was it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? We're going to get Farmer Dre back on. It is Tuesday. Okay. but I just have to think of what time, what day. I think I asked Farmer Dre to come on. This is Tuesday, maybe Thursday, to talk to us more about how to live on the land. Oh, we did a podcast a week or two, maybe 2 weeks ago, Farmer Dre and I, from Set Apart Gardens. He talked about how to get land on loans, grants, how to plant food, whether you have a lot of land, a little land, an apartment. What else did Farmer Dre talk to us about? How to make money on the land, how your land is wealth, how we got away from living on the land, and what we can do to return to the land. So I can't wait to get him back. What'd you say? Sister Carol said, "You've been on fire." Thank you. Around this entire month, keep teaching with your bad self. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Live Queen, live Queen with your educated self. No dumbing ourselves down over here. Thank you so much, Sister Carol. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yaki Awakening is his name. He's the truth. He is awesome. We have to get him on. Hi, Soul Tribe. So, what'd you say? Joseph Hayes. Hi, Joseph Hayes, Executive Director with the Peacekeeping Task Force. Second time listener, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. God bless you. I'm so honored to have you. Where are you from again? Executive Director with the Peacekeeping Task Force. Ooh, we would love to talk to you. A peacekeeper? We might have to send you a link so you can say something tonight. You usually done remember when it's payday. You don't remember when it's payday? That would be the only time I would remember. You're from Kentucky. Oh, I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for 20 years, King. Peacekeeping. I would love to hear what you do. Would you like to speak and say something tonight? Introduce yourself. You work with Anna Von Rice directly. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So that's why I came on, King, because I put up a video of Anna Von Rice, and I know she has a bank. I forgot the name of the bank that either she started or she's working with. And so I came on tonight because there's some questions about whether or not people have to do a status correction. The central office is in Louisville, Kentucky. That's where I raised my children. I was there for 20 years. So people were wondering, do we have to have a status correction in order to stay on the land or in order to become sovereign? Because most of us were United States citizens underneath United States Incorporated, or many of us, or we considered ourselves United States citizens. Well, this is my stance. You just saw the video, okay? My stance on status correction is, and this is just Dr. Kia Pruitt speaking. You got your status corrected. All right. My stance is that under the Republic, which is our lawful government, we are considered sovereign. In addition to that, Americans are always sovereign. Now, people classified as African American were considered chattel property, as we were the prisoners of war of the United States Incorporated. And so most of us went along with being called United States citizens, but we cannot be a citizen. You cannot be both a slave and sovereign. Sovereign is free, means you're free. You have Sav means over, reign means rule and control over your lives. So if you are an American born and have blood rights to the land because you are the indigenous Atachinas people here on the land, you were always considered sovereign. They tricked us into calling ourselves citizens. But we were sovereign because, first of all, we sprung from the soil here. And I know some people say, why do you keep talking about that? Because right now, the birthright question, citizenship, DACA, all of that is all under scrutiny because those were statuses granted by the United States Incorporated. Well, the autogenous indigenous people were considered free white persons on the land. Now, they changed our designation from being the free white persons on the land to colored, Negro, Black, and African American. Walter Plecker and the Census Bureau were very, very active in changing our designation. However, we are not, I'm talking about people that look like me, that are from America, where our ancestors sprang from the soil. So we are already sovereign because our ancestors sprung from the soil and we are the Americans. Even according to the United States Incorporated, their dictionary, their Webster's dictionary defines American, the 1828 Webster's definition defines American as the copper-colored races encountered by Christopher Columbus, but now applied to Europeans. So the American definition, according to them, is the copper-colored races discovered by Christopher Columbus and nobody else. So other people are saying they're American when they are not. They are United States citizens of the incorporation of the USA, United States of America, which is an unlawful, treasonous entity that usurped authority from our lawful republic. If that doesn't sit well with people, all you have to do is read what the Supreme Court of the United States said when they overturned the Chevron doctrine. In the summer of 2024, the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine. The Chevron doctrine had given the United States Incorporated unlimited powers. The Supreme Court of the United States said they didn't have a right to have unlimited powers. They went further and said that the United States Incorporated was operating treasonously, unlawfully, and against the Constitution. They went further and said any judge that allowed the United States Incorporated and all 400, at the time was 441 government agencies, to continue to operate on this land unlawfully, any judges that went along with that, they committed treason. And any judge that knew of a judge that went along with that committed misprision of treason. This is why I've been reporting on massive arrests of judges. They committed treason. Massive arrests of attorneys, massive arrests of government officials. I did a whole video on FBI raids on many government offices, snatching up and arresting judges, mainstream media, journalists, snatching up bankers, snatching up government officials. You can even look at resignation.info and see a lot of people, like over 10,000 people that was forced to resign. And again, you can look at my video I did a couple days ago, FBI raids. And all of this is because the United States Incorporated was operating unlawfully, illegally, and treasonously. So they afforded people citizenship. They afforded people privileges. They said if you can have birthright citizenship. The reason why that's under question, and I keep saying it, is because the 14th Amendment is what these judges were using to tell immigrants you can remain on the land here. But the 14th Amendment was not written for immigrants. The 14th Amendment was written after the Civil War for the children of African Americans. They could become citizens. Now, we know that we're not citizens. We can't be citizens. I mean, we can if we agree to be citizens of the United States, but we're sovereign by their definition. They are about tricking people using language, considering us dead at sea through admiralty and maritime law, using our all capital letter name, using our birth certificate bond and securitizing it and trading it on the stock market. Now, that birth certificate bond was supposed to be accruing interest to pay off any living expenses that we had. But instead of doing that, they paid themselves, the bankers and others, out of our birth certificate bond, and they forced us all of us on this landmass, I should say most of us, to pay them for our living expenses. But you know who they didn't charge? They didn't charge some of the immigrants that they brought over here and allowed them to have access to our birth certificate bonds. So do you have to have, my computer is doing all kind of things, mixing up and all this, changing screens. Do you have to have status correction? I don't see why anybody has to change any status when status is a part of the United States Incorporated. Now, there are people selling status correction, and that, so they may have a different perspective, and they can teach me, just help me to get a better understanding of why under this new regime, under this new reality, why we still need that. Maybe under the old reality, when the United States Incorporated was still operating on the land, maybe you had to serve them notice. However, the Republic has been restored. That's why King Charles came over here. That's why on the Twitter account of the White House, they said two kings. They had Charles III and President Trump, because Charles III gave a speech to President Trump to formally do away with us being under British rule. That completely did away with admiralty and maritime law. They had to do some type of ritual. That was the ritual. When President Trump gets finished taking down the deep state, which is what he's doing now, that's why we're under a government shutdown. That's why over 300,000 people were granted early retirement from the government last year. And now we're over 355,000 people have left the government. The commissioner of the IRS was given, his walking papers. The IRS now, they halted employment of the IRS. Many government officials have walked out. The Department of Justice had tens of thousands of people to walk out of the Department of Justice. Why? Because the United States Incorporated ceases to exist. They won't tell anybody that. That's why the United States Treasury Department, this is crazy, the United States Treasury Department issued out a report that said that the United States Incorporated, the government, is insolvent. They can't pay their debts. So they're not telling people yet, but the government no longer exists. So to whom are you going to show these status correction papers? Because under the Republic, you have sovereignty, reign, rule, and control over your own life. All the people that are saying, I'm a United States citizen, I have birthright citizenship, they're going to have to take it up with somebody else, because the United States government, which afforded them the privilege of calling themselves a citizen, no longer exists. So all the privileges that the United States Incorporated granted now has to be rescinded, because the United States Incorporated is defunct, bankrupt, insolvent, and has been dismantled. Now we have the Republic, our lawful government. So just in case people don't know, there was a Republic for the United States of America, based on tribal law. Many people say based on the Iroquois Confederation, tribal law. And I know that's not what the Iroquois people call themselves. The Republic had a constitution for the United States of America. Well, the Constitution was usurped by a group of bloodline families, who then incorporated itself in 1871 as a nonprofit religious organization. Why religious? Because the Pope was ahead of it. This is what gave Pope Francis the authority in 2014 to send a letter to Obama saying, our time is up. I read motu proprio to you all. I showed you the video. He said, our time is up. We must cease and desist. All presidents are not presidents of the country. They're presidents of a corporation. Obama's not a president of the country, he said. He's a president of a corporation. Therefore, presidents must stand down. He said court officials must stand down. And that letter of motu proprio said police officers are policy enforcers of the United States Incorporated. They must stand down. All government agencies and officials must stand down. And he even said, I, as Pope Francis, must stand down. We must cease and desist. And if we do not, he said in his letter to Obama in 2014, the Grand Army of the Republic will take us down, with General Ham at the forefront of the Grand Army of the Republic. So that was in 2014. Fast forward 2024, the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine. So when they overturned the Chevron doctrine, President Trump came back in 2025 with a vengeance, and he signed 225 executive orders, many of which were to dismantle the United States Incorporated. He then spoke to the military all over the world. We did videos on that, and sent them out to the major cities in preparation for this mass deportation. But before he deported immigrants, he cleaned up house at home. All the gangs that was going on in these big cities, he cleaned them up. And people were coming on their social media accounts saying, thank you, President Trump. We feel safe in our communities now, especially places that were ran by liberals. That was in 2025. He also created the Sovereign Wealth Fund, comprised of stocks, bonds, real estates, rare earth minerals, precious metals, and money from trade deals and tariffs. The Sovereign Wealth Fund, he said, will be used to help humanity to invest in our infrastructure, to inject trillions of dollars into the economy, and to invest outside of America to bring in funds for the Sovereign Welfare Fund. That Sovereign Wealth Fund, my friends and family members, as President Trump said, is the fund just like other countries, because other countries have always had some funds for the people. That's why their people, a lot of countries have free health care. A lot of countries have free education. And oil-rich countries have something that looks like a universal basic income. That just means that everybody got a certain amount of money every single month. So you have oil-rich nations that have a lot of wealth who actually let that wealth trickle down to the people. That's what the Sovereign Wealth Fund is. So now we've had the Republic for the United States of America, our lawful government, the United States Incorporated, the bloodline families that usurped authority from our republic, which had their own constitution, which is the Constitution of the United States Incorporated. The Republic is the Constitution for the United States of America. The nefarious bloodline families is the Constitution of the United States Incorporated. It was incorporated in 1871 as a nonprofit religious organization, and again, with the Pope as the head. They were based on maritime law and admiralty law. The Republic is based on the law of the land. You're sovereign when the Republic is restored. The government that usurped authority here from us granted people citizenship. Unfortunately, they thought that meant that they could classify themselves as American. They're United States citizens. President Trump has said many, many times that there are a lot of people here that are not indigenous. He told the people classifying themselves as Native Americans who said they were indigenous, you don't look like you're Indians to me, and you don't look like you're Indians to Indians. Now, many of them are being deported. Why? Because the Native Americans might have been native born. There's a difference between native born and natural born. They might have been native born, meaning they were born here, but they're not natural born, meaning that their ancestors sprung from the soil here, that they have been here, sprung from the soil. They're not natural born. They're not the autogenous indigenous people here. They crossed the Bering Strait from Siberia and they squatted on the land. They had beautiful colored teepees and they were granted grants, privileges, casinos, and monies, as many of them were masquerading as indigenous, autogenous Americans. But they're not natural born, they're not indigenous. That's why a lot of them are being deported. Now, some of them are able to stay here because they do have some blood. If the one drop rule, where they said one drop and you're black and that's a horrible thing, no, one drop is good for those who have one drop of indigenous blood, because now you have some ties to the land. Doesn't matter what your skin complexion presents as. So the people classified as Native American, many of them are being deported. People who dropped off their children through DACA, deferred action against children, something or another. Some people sent their children from other countries to come to America so that they can be classified as citizens. And then they got Social Security benefits and all that type of stuff. But a lot of those children are being deported, not because it's a racism thing or it's a thing of hatred against immigrants. It's because they're immigrants. That's why, when you understand that the Constitution, John Eastman, who's an expert in constitutional law, when he was talking about some of these presidents are not lawful, like Kamala Harris, he said, you got to understand, in order to be American, in order to serve the American people as a president, you have to be natural born and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So people can say, well, I'm subject to the jurisdiction of the state in which I was born, but were you natural born? That's when you got to know the etymology of words. If your parents dropped you off here as an anchor baby, you're not considered natural born. And John Eastman, who's the constitutional expert out of California, said it's not about proximity only where you were born. It's about allegiance. So a lot of immigrants have allegiance to their home country, as they should. Now, isn't that interesting how, I don't know if y'all could see me. Can y'all see me? Because I can't see myself. To the stage. Can y'all see me? There we go. I somehow couldn't see myself on the screen. You could see me? Glitches, but I'm back. So it's not just about proximity, it's also about allegiance. I didn't make up the law. This is the Constitution. So we know it's about allegiance because a lot of people who came over here from all over the world sent their money back home. So that now the GDP, gross domestic product of many countries, 30, 40, and more sometimes percentage of their GDP is from money from America that was sent to these other countries. Allegiance. Why should they not have? They should have allegiance to their countries. So now a lot of them are upset. They're crying. Thank you so much for the gift. Because unfortunately, they're, or fortunately, I don't know, they're going back home. But citizenship is not the same as sovereignty. Being a citizen does not make you American. So what do people need to do if they're immigrants and they want to be classified as American? That's outside of my realm of expertise. But if you are American and you have the blood right and the birthright, your skin complexion, your blood is your identification. They know who you are. Chief Rod Hayes already explained this to us. They got records. Why do we think they were going around doing census? They know exactly who each and every one of us are in our bloodline. But if you want to get a status correction, I would encourage you to, do the research. What are you correcting it for? If you are a citizen, I don't know how you can be American if the 1828 Webster's definition is the copper-colored races discovered or by Christopher Columbus, or the Europeans, but now applied to Europeans. I don't know how they can change that one. So you guys tell me, do you feel like you have to change your status? What is your status anyway? The people that are American by blood, the autogenous indigenous people, had white status, but it was changed to black in order to confuse people because they said you're dead in law. You have no status in law. That's what black meant. But for people who don't know, thank you, Brother King David said, our birth certificates are held at the Vatican from birth, and our death certificates are kept there too. So here you are with, in case people don't know, American. 1828 Webster's definition of American, a native of America, you were born here, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. America or American can be applied to somebody, but that doesn't mean that's what you are by birth. So that is the reason why a lot of people have some confusion. I don't know how you do status correction, my darling. And he authenticated his birth certificate. If someone was here and is not a citizen, if they've been here for 7 years and do not accept any benefits, can they become a state national? That's a good question. We probably should bring on an expert to ask, how do you become a state national? Many of us have a status of American without United States citizenship, right? Somebody says you can get a status declaration. What I know is that a lot of people will be returning to their own land, the land of their ancestry. Minister Khalif Tunso has said status correction is unnecessary. Thank you, Pi Forum from Instagram. Understanding the law and procedure seems to be more important. I'm still learning, but he went through the process. Thank you. Thank you. I agree. Many of us are American by blood. So some people want to do the paperwork. I'm trying to figure out who's the paperwork going to go to. And why do you have to prove who you are, and to whom will you be proving that? So what it looks like is, what we know is, in order to receive the NESARA benefits, people will have to be in the home or country of their origin. Now, there's always been a way for people to be able to enjoy being in other people's lands. What that way is lawfully under the Republic, which is our lawful government, is what people need to understand or figure out if they're not American by blood. Because what was granted by the United States Incorporated is no longer valid because the United States Incorporated has been defunct. So a lot of people were allowed to come here in order to be a United States citizen so that they can, increase the voting opportunities or voting numbers for, some people have said both sides. Most recently, it was for the liberals, but people have said for both sides historically. So, but it's beyond that. This is a spiritual war. What I mean by spiritual, it's a bloodline war. This is a bloodline war against the indigenous copper-colored races here in the Americas that's been going on for centuries. A bloodline war, not just between humans, but between our ancestors, many of whom are not human. Because if you know that Anunnaki and other beings outside the earth plane actually seeded many people here on this earth plane, you know that many of us have the bloodline of different extraterrestrial beings, and they're fighting each other over this landmass in America. Because this is where everything originated from. Turtle Island, America, the Pangea, the Garden of Eden is in Florida. Thank you. A shout out to Orisha Stone for bringing that to my attention. He said, Google it. And we did right on a live, and it was in Florida. Wow. At least that's what they're saying now. So it's in alignment with what the indigenous people have been saying. This was the Pangea. It was Turtle Island. And there's a great earthquake and people migrated outward. And then you have races that were created after the indigenous people. Many people don't even know where they came from because they can't trace themselves to a landmass because they weren't created in a womb, a human womb. So that's sad. But outside of those beings, people that were Cabbage Patch children, it's sad when you hear those stories. NPCs, what they call NPCs, non-player characters. They say a great percentage of the population is not even human or may not even have a soul. But let's talk about those of us that have a soul. Do you have to do paperwork for an entity that no longer exists? Wow. Chantel Ian says they made the indigenous Black man desire the non-indigenous woman, leaving the Black woman to the foreigners so that they could become citizens. Yes. This is another reason why they allow a lot of immigrants who were men to come over here. That is an art of war. You allow them to bring their men over here so that they can make babies with the women. And then the children are now beholden to the fathers of foreign lands because they're going to have allegiance to the land from which their fathers come. Even if they lived here and were born on the land and say, I'm American, they wave their flags from their other countries and say they're proud to be from another country, even whether they were born on the land here or they immigrated here or they came through DACA and their parents sent them there. Parents literally sent babies over here, sent children over here, and the children were supposed to be protected through DACA. But now even children that were under the DACA status are being sent back home because President Trump is saying you don't have birthright claim to the land or blood right claim to the land. Thank you. Gerald says the definition of citizens is enemy combatant. Absolutely, Brother Grady. It is definitely a bloodline war. Absolutely. It's spiritual, a spiritual war, he says, and the physical war here on earth. It's all playing out here on the earth plane. The fight that's been going on between bloodlines. So somehow I keep being exited off the screen. So I am not sure uh what's going to happen to those that want to stay here. What I would suggest is, if their time is up, if your visa is up, try to, figure out a way lawfully that you can stay, or else you'll just have to go home. Because when your visa is up, if you're here on temporary status, that means that you only had a certain amount, a certain timeline. That's the law. And then once that time is up, you're supposed to go back home. It's kind of like if you go somewhere on vacation and you enjoy it, it's beautiful, you love the food, you might love the women, you might love the men, you had a great time, but your vacation is up, that means you go back home. Even if where you came from was a home that you don't like or you don't no longer want to be at, once the time is up, you go back home. Temporary, maybe people are confused. Let's look it up. It doesn't mean forever, it doesn't mean permanent. I'm really being really serious. Thank you so much for the Cash App. Temporary, lasting for only a limited period of time, not permanent. So if you're on temporary protective status, that means that as soon as your visa was up or your time period that was given to you is up, that means you're supposed to go back home. Or as soon as your country is stable, because a lot of people that were here saying that they needed protection, as soon as they got their green card, they would go back to their country to visit on vacation. Well, if it was unsafe, how are you going back on vacation? Is what the question is being brought up. Lasting only for a limited time. So what happened was people were staying here, overstaying their visas, and then they would seek asylum. The judges would allow them to seek asylum, would sign off on them. They didn't have to prove that they were scared to go back home. They didn't have to prove that they would be great or unalive. They could just say it. But now you have to prove it if you want asylum. I think that's fair. Nobody's saying they can't get asylum. They're saying you have to prove it. And we had that's what I understand the government saying. We're putting everything on pause and we're going to halt everything and we're going to look over everything with a fine-tooth comb, because under the United States Incorporated, an unlawful, treasonous corporation that is not the government granted privileges. What is asylum? An institution for, oh, now we're not talking about, oh, okay, that's an institution. Number two, and it's a refuge, formerly for criminals. Oh my gosh. Okay. But it's seeking refuge. A place offering protection and safety, or a shelter. So people would, once their visas were up, and everybody knew that they could do this, they would then stay here, still get benefits, welfare, food stamps, Section 8, housing, Medicare, Medicaid, government loans, access to our credit. People are saying taxpayers' money. No, that came straight from y'all's birth certificate and Social Security bonds. Ours. I looked up my Social Security number. You used to go to gmeiutility.org and you could I found tens of thousands of entities, foreign and domestic, using my Social Security to build complexes, hotels, restaurants. Chief Mack, when he authenticated his birth certificate, had looked at the number attached to it, and he found a bunch of foreign entities making millions and billions off of his birth certificate bond. People were coming over here getting a free ride while they were sending the money that they were making over here to their country, which I'm not mad at that. They're taking care of their people. And now the government is saying, we're glad you're proud to be from your country. We're glad to know, as you were waving your flag over here, letting everybody know that you're from this bloodline. We're glad you had your time here while you were saying you work harder than the Americans who are lazy here, and especially the Black Americans. Now you can utilize all that you've experienced here to help your countrymen and women. But you will not be using the money any longer from here. Look at this. This is shout out to Anton Daniels. I'll make sure I give him credit, but I want to show you what he showed this lady saying. Watch this.
Hey, let me tell you something. So when I used to work for the county in social services, I went in full Democrat, full liberal, and I came out Republican. Let's talk about it. I used to work in the social services department. So any public benefits, we're talking Medicaid, food stamps, cash aid, disability, unemployment, veteran service, housing. I did all the things, intake, applications, case maintenance, you name it. So when somebody who has a social security number, like you and I, apply for benefits through their social security numbers, I could tell, or any of the workers could tell using the social security number, whether somebody is working, whether somebody has money in their bank, whether they have property, cars, how much money they made that year through their taxes, whether they have additional income. However, here's the loophole. If somebody without a social security number, so somebody who's undocumented applies for benefits, and they do qualify for benefits, by the way, they qualify for full Medicaid, housing, migrant head start. That's fully paid childcare. Not to mention
they qualify for all benefits. Listen.
That if these people have any kids that are U.S. citizens, meaning that they're born here, then they apply for benefits for their kids, and their kids being U.S. citizens qualify for all the benefits, all the services. So if you have an undocumented parent, meaning a parent that does not have a social security number, apply for benefits for their children. There's absolutely no way as a worker I could tell if they're making income, if they have any property, if they did taxes, how much money they made. There's just no way. We're talking $1,200 per kid plus $275 per person cash.
$1,275 per child plus food stamps.
Food stamps. That doesn't include housing.
Wait a minute. How much did you say, madam? Run that
$25 per person cash. We're talking $1,200 per kid plus $275.
$1,200 per child plus $275
per person cash.
Per person.
Food stamps. That doesn't include housing, all the other benefits they get.
If you're wondering why people are so gung-ho about trying to get to the United States of America, and then they're able to, quote unquote, build themselves up from scratch, here's why. And I'm not sure what state that they're in. I'm assuming that it's probably liberal California. And then you also have to take into account the fact that the United States of American citizens are the ones that give these dollars over to these illegal migrants that come over into the country. And so over here in Metro Detroit, for example, we have a huge Arabic and Chaldean population, and then that doesn't even consider all of the other, people that come over into this country. Why do they do this? I have no idea. Understand, and I'm not talking about the immigrants. I'm talking about our legislators, our politicians.
I don't know if the immigrants understand that it costs. Let's say the money is coming from the taxpayers. It costs a lot to support people and all of their family, all of their children, all the people that they bring here. There's a cost to that. Meanwhile, the people in America have been struggling. People in America don't qualify for food stamps and social welfare and Medicaid and Medicare automatically. They have to go through hoops, and they're not just granted privileges and just thrown money. No, there's a cost. And then some people weren't even getting the money from the government. They were accessing our bonds.
Do they understand that this is happening? Absolutely. But
absolutely, the politicians understand this is happening. And in fact, many of them were getting paid by way of votes.
Do they care about American taxpayers, or if they just get reelected? I think it's going to be the latter, because obviously it's the only reason that we can deduce. And of course, we know that there's a lot of kickbacks. There's a lot of opportunity for them to continue to make money. They can filter it through their friends.
So a lot of politicians were getting kickbacks.
And so once you know the system, once you understand how things are going, you can start to finesse it a lot more yourself. But this is just grossly, under no circumstances should it be allowed. And because we know it, you'll see people like Bernie Sanders and AOC and Mamdani and all of these people sitting here trying to villainize people that wind up becoming millionaires formerly now billionaires, because these same people are millionaires now. So now we're going to have a conversation about billionaires, right? We'll see these same people start to criticize the ones that are actually from the United States of America that made it out the mud, and they provide jobs, they provide opportunities to other people, but you won't hear them criticize or address any of the fraud that is happening at large. And you know what's so funny about this whole situation
What's funny about it? Tell us, Anton, in your opinion, your words.
is that I remember ever since I was a little kid, there's always been this narrative that people that come from other countries, they automatically get tax benefits. But the narrative, what was wrong about
Oh, he's going to tell you about how they are able to use food stamps to buy food for their restaurants.
it was, we assume that they didn't have to pay any taxes whatsoever. That's not true. The law is the law, and it's applicable to everybody, regardless of whether you here illegally or you here not, you know what I'm saying, you here legally, whether you're an American citizen or you just got a green card.
Okay, tell us more. Mm-hmm.
Right? If you earn, then you're supposed to have taxes taken out of your paycheck.
Okay.
Here's the caveat,
What's
is that
yeah.
it wasn't about whether or not they was getting it out of their paycheck. It was about if they was finessing the system and taking advantage of taxpayers by being able to claim the benefits. Now, here's the other side of it, and we're going to get back to her in a second.
Tell us, what's the other side, Anton?
The other side of it is this. They would use these same food stamps and benefits and stuff to build their businesses. And I explained this in a previous video for those of you that's just getting here. I explained this in a previous video on the Millionaire Morning Show. When I was opening up my restaurant, right, my very first time that I opened up a restaurant, because before I became a silent investor and all of this stuff, my first restaurant that I opened up, one of the things that I would regularly see is these people that spoke no English whatsoever. And one of them actually explained it to me. A good friend that lives in Dearborn, Michigan.
Anton Daniels is a podcaster from Michigan who speaks on geopolitical things and also does a Millionaire Morning Show. So he knows a little bit about how people run business.
Because that is the largest population of Arabic people, Muslim people in the United States of America, told me to finesse. He said, listen, bro, he said, y'all have to reinvest back into your business. He didn't explain it like this, but I'm gonna give you the Cliff Notes.
Yes, please. We'd like to see the Cliff Notes. Thank you so much, sir.
We as American citizens have to reinvest back into our business in order to be successful.
Tell us more.
Which means that we have to take the profits from the food or from whatever it is that you sell with the thin margins. And the reason why the margins are so thin is because you have to reinvest it back into the business. So you got to keep the lights on, you got to pay insurance, you got to pay gas, you got to pay rent, employees, then you got to pay food and all of this stuff, right?
Makes sense. Yeah, right.
He said what they did was they basically created a job for themselves. What does that mean? That means that all they had to do was pay for whatever the facility was, right? Get their equipment, they started money, and it was off to the races because they worked the jobs, which means that they never had to hire anybody and they never had any payroll, which is your biggest expense, benefits and all that. And that's why a lot of these Chinese places, you only see them working there, you only see them, they never speak any English, but they just cook and they just put out, and that's how they able to save money. But here's the real finesse.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Now tell us the real finesse. Get to it, because this should be good.
The real finesse is they never had to actually go and pay for most of the food themselves, because when you are in line at a lot of these different places, they take food stamps.
What? They take food stamps?
They go to Sam's Club, they go to Restaurant Depot, they go to all these different places, and they are paying for the supplies of food that they're cooking and selling to people with American taxpayer dollars.
Wait. But they have businesses. How do they even qualify for food stamps, Anton? Help us to understand this.
Crazy. And the more people that they have over here that they ultimately can say, hey, we need this many food stamps or whatever, that's how they continue to finesse the system. It's such a treacherous loophole that is so easily able to be closed. But the thing that you have to ask yourself is, why are your local politicians, Congress members who control the purse strings of the government, why are they unwilling to close the loophole?
Right, because we can't blame the people for taking advantage of the system that was afforded them, because the first law of nature is self-preservation. They're only preserving themselves and their bloodline. And if the government is giving out free handouts on the heads of the American people, darn the American people, why should anybody care? They're concerned about their bloodline, which they should be. Who cares? Why would they care about veterans being homeless and on the streets? Why would they care that single moms with children or single dads or even families that don't make enough money need food stamps, but they can't qualify? But these rich people can just be given qualify even though they're not American.
They don't even hide it. I used to have women and some men that would come in straight up with their nails did, their hair done, blonde, bleach blonde, Gucci bags, Gucci glasses, driving up on Escalades, chewing guns, super loud, saying, "Where's my welfare check?" I used to live in a neighborhood where 70% of the people around me were undocumented, and man, did they live the life. New cars, parties every weekend. Oh yeah, and they also qualify for WIC. I forgot to say that. Meanwhile, as U.S. citizens, we don't qualify for.
Oh yeah. Because when you were undocumented here in America, you were treated very well. We had undocumented student offices on universities where they were given scholarships, grants, free housing, food, academic support programs, you name it. The same with being undocumented and getting food stamps, housing. Not everybody, but this was the way. This was the standard here in America. Can't do that anywhere else.
Sickety shit. We don't qualify for nada, nothing. It was so common where the women or the moms in my community that were undocumented, they wouldn't work. They would have their own community of stay-at-home moms, while us U.S. citizen moms would have to go out and work because we can't afford to live. And listen, I don't have anything against undocumented immigrants. Like, hey, we're all human beings. I think that if I was an undocumented immigrant, I'd probably take advantage of this loophole too. It's the government.
Right, because like I said, people are concerned about their families, and they should be. And if the government is just giving handouts and allowing women to stay home, even whether they're undocumented or not, why not? And as a matter of fact, while we're talking about undocumented, you can get
especially the state of California, especially
you can get a law degree. You can become somebody sending me something. You can become an attorney and full attorney, pass the British Accredited Registry exam, and become a so-called lawyer being an undocumented student. I lived in California. You can go to Stanford and you can go to some other universities and become a lawyer. So a lot of these lawyers or so-called attorneys are not even American citizens, many of whom are actually immigration attorneys, and they serve immigrants all over the country. They can be stationed here in Florida and they can work all over the country, and they can even be undocumented themselves. That's why they're upset. Not because they're upset and think that Trump is racist. It's because the fraud has been discovered and uncovered and released to we the people, especially the American people who's been suffering and struggling while people could come here and have a very good life. Continue. Oh, you don't want to continue? That's cool.
Actually, liberal states, it's the government that doesn't allow or put in regulations to limit this kind of fraud and waste. And we're all screwed. Not only us taxpayers who have to pay for this kind of waste and fraud, but when the federal government comes in to enforce immigration laws, people are upset. They're confused. You don't understand. Why is it that they're being deported?
No, they don't understand, because all they know is what they were afforded. All they know that it was a free ride, free lunch. Come to America, come on a visa, come on temporary visa, temporary status, come on a humanitarian visa for 2 years. And then all you have to do is right before your time is up, apply for asylum. It's easy. You don't even have to have an attorney. You could just send in the paperwork. You don't have to prove anything. You can get all these benefits. A lot of people, so now they're like, what's happening? But please trust and believe that a lot of people did know. Some didn't and some did.
If they've been openly living and getting all these free benefits, regardless of their immigration status. We need to do better. The state of California needs to do better. We all need to get on the same page here.
At some point, you need to have somebody that just wants to break the system. I'm not just talking about Democrat or Republican, because we already know that Democrats believe in continuing to support illegals coming into this country and taking advantage of taxpayers. I'm talking about you have to have somebody that is not only Republican, but also somebody that is willing to challenge the status quo. And the problem is that they're going to be so opposed because there's so much money that is running through illegally that people are going to not want to ultimately allow for the system to, not benefit them. And so they're going to fight it with everything in them, because you start messing with people's money, you start messing with people's lives. Let me know what you guys think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon link is in the description. Teach Henley 40% off your first order, 20% off.
That is Anton Daniels. I will put him, give him credit, and make sure I put his information in the description section. So all I'm saying is a lot of people came here and they enjoyed the free lunch. Absolutely. We were concerned about our families as well. And guess what? Nobody gives a darn about us. The black people here that they called the N-word, the ones that they said were lazy, that don't want to work, that we need to pull ourselves up from our bootstraps. Remember those comments that we would hear, those snide remarks that everybody else works harder than us? Meanwhile, they're briefed before they come to our country to stay away from Black people because they're dirty. Oh, all the bragging they would do online, all the bragging they would do when they would come to our offices at the university saying they were supposed to stay away from Black people. But it's a little uncomfortable now that you understand that the true American, indigenous people are the Black people that people were disgusted by. We were concerned about our families. We were concerned about the drugs being in our our communities and the guns, but it wasn't considered an epidemic until it reached other communities. So now here we are. A massive cleanup is happening. A massive cleanup is happening. A lot of people are now being given the opportunity to go back home, especially if they committed a crime here. You know, overstaying your visa, according to the United States, is unlawful, illegal, illegal. Birthright citizenship that's not meant for anybody other than African Americans using that status is illegal. But you have people being deported that literally committed crimes and went to prison. So yes, as I reported the other day, you got ICE at the courthouses, you have ICE at the airports helping TSA, you have ICE when people show up to some of their meetings to see if they're going to get a green card. You got ICE waiting right there to deport them. You know why? Because everything now is being returned in our favor. Turn in our favor. Because the time for whatever bloodline that had enslaved the American indigenous people here and brought up all these other people here to keep us suppressed, unbeknownst to many of the immigrants, whatever bloodline did that, lost the war. See, winning a battle is different from winning a war. And the time is up. So a lot of people are fighting tooth and nail to stay over here, even though they came here illegally or they stayed here illegally. And they're like, well, under other administrations, we were able to break the law. And they're saying, I don't know anything else but this country. Well, that is the accountability of your parents or of you if you overstayed your visa. Because just because you thought you can get away with it for life doesn't mean that it was lawful. It's not legal and it's not lawful. Legal means you broke the policy, statutes, and codes of the United States Incorporated. Illegal means you broke the statutes, codes, policies of the corporation, United States Incorporated. Unlawful means that it's against the Constitution for the Republic. The Republic is being returned. So Charles came over here, gave a concession speech to Trump, said, you guys are no longer beholden unto us on the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, which is also the 50th anniversary of 9/11. And then Trump, after he gets finished dismantling the deep state and the United States Incorporated, would then turn everything over to the autogenous indigenous people here in America, which are the ones erroneously called Black, Negro, African American. Anybody that's allowed to stay here will have to, and they should want to, respect the indigenous people on the land. Not only respect the indigenous people on the land, but to operate with integrity. And the Moors would say, operate in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So if anybody wants to change their status, that's right. There'll be no more. You said there'll be no more lawyers. There'll be no more attorneys. I don't know about lawyers because attorneys are turned for you to speak on your behalf because they consider you a minor or lost and dead at sea. A lawyer is a person that supports and interprets the law. So I hear what you're saying. Maybe people won't. I don't know if we will have lawyers or not, but what I heard is under NASARA, any attorneys will stand down, and those that want to remain to interpret the law will have to actually be retrained in constitutional law. So thank you, King David. I appreciate you for bringing that point up. Law, land, air, water. Brother Bill. Do you not preach and minister to TOY in yours? I don't know what TOY is. You're welcome. Thank you for listening. Somebody said, come on, Pruitt. Come on, P. You and yours. Do I not preach to you? Who not preach to you and yours? I don't understand. Or maybe are you talking to somebody else, Copper? Thank you for the message, but I do not appreciate pre-recorded videos posting as live. I don't do pre-recorded videos posting as live. This is live. If you don't understand what a premiere is, then I suggest you research it, because that's not posing as a live. But if you don't appreciate it, we appreciate you expressing your concern. But this is a live. Premieres are not lives, because you're not you may not be a YouTuber, you may not have your channel. Okay, so no question. The nerve, the audacity of people. And these foreigners have the audacity, what are you saying? To say the heirs do not have anything, that they're lazy and don't want to succeed. People have said that. And then a lot of them were frauding Americans. I mean, when they uncovered that a certain community had allegedly frauded the government and the American taxpayers out of billions of dollars because they said they had daycare centers that do not exist, that was considered egregious, because it is egregious. Yes, there are some unlawful people that do dirty things in every single nationality. I agree. So the only reason why it's important to expose the fraud is because people classified as Black women were called welfare queens and were accused of breaking up the family and depending on the government, because in order to get food stamps or welfare, a lot of them could not have a man in the house. So, it was this big thing. Oh, these welfare queens, these Black people all on welfare. And then you found out that Caucasians was just as much on welfare as African people classified as African American. And you got the two so-called races fighting against each other. Come to find out, all along, the people that got the most welfare benefits were the immigrants that weren't even from here, that didn't even live here. And we're wondering, when the government says they're out of money and they can't finance the veterans, and our veterans are homeless and on the street, we're wondering why. Why not? And as a matter of fact, I showed on my video about the FBI raids, how banks were raided. Government offices were raided because billions of dollars were kept away from our veterans. And those people were fired and arrested. We're wondering why we don't have any health care, but then you go and see that immigrants have better health care than the Americans. And look, we want people to have food, shelter, clothing, health care. We have a heart for humans. We're just saying that we want it to be done equitably. And if people can go back to the home of their origin, why should they not? They should, especially if their time here is up. Excellent, Dr. Kia. In California, a Chinese mayor was arrested. I saw that. She admitted to be an agent and a spy for China. I saw that. I was like, ooh wee. People are admitting. I thought I had that one pulled up. I did see that. I think she's about 78. It's happening in real time. What did I do with that when I saw that? Was it a Chinese congresswoman? I'm sorry. Let me see, where's that? California, if I could bring that up. If you have the link, can you show it to me? A lot of these political officials aren't even American. How can you be concerned about America if you're not American? Here, I saved it. I saved the link. Sent it to my email. Thank you for that. I'm gonna bring it up right now. So they allowed people to take over, immigrants to take over certain jobs and to take over political seats and to control banks and to buy up land here. I'm telling you, it's a bloodline war. That's what we're saying by spiritual. It's a bloodline war against the indigenous people here in America. I mean, what else could it be? What else could it be? So let me bring this up here. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. California mayor resigns, will plead guilty to acting as an agent for the Chinese government. Eileen Wang has agreed to plead guilty to acting as an illegal agent for the Chinese government with potential imprisonment of up to 10 years. They sold us out. And you do have people that are here that were born here and it's all they know. And they're like, look, I love America. I love Americans. I want to stay here. Well, for those people, they might, I don't know, maybe they will have to do a status correction. But if you're a lawfully American, you don't have to do it. I don't see why you would have to do a status correction. I'm not going to tell you you don't have to. That's up to you. That's a personal choice. The 58-year-old was elected in 2022 of November to a 5-year city council, from which the mayor is selected on a rotating basis. City Mayor Dominic Lazaretto said in a news release that no city finance or staff were involved. We wanted to be clear. It's interesting. A lot of politicians say that. Let's be clear. We wanted to be clear. This investigation concerns individual conduct, and the charges are for conduct that ceased after Ms. Wang was sworn into office in December 2022. Federal officials said she's agreed to plead guilty to the felony, which comes with a maximum sentence of 10 years in federal prison. Hopefully she'll get deported. Oops. I didn't know I was off. I'm going to serve a maximum sentence of 10 years. I hope this is the right link I'm sending to you. I'm putting it in the comment section, but I'll also put it in the description section for you. So, family, my question was, do you have to change the status or do a status correction to remain on the land or to be sovereign? Sovereign rights are granted by God and by the Constitution for the Republic here in America. Rights are different from privileges. Sovereigns are different from United States citizens. In my opinion, I'll tell you, I have not done a status correction because I don't have to correct my status. I don't have to have a status. That's something that was given through the United States Incorporated. I'm American by blood, by birth. I have birth rights. I have blood rights. What did you say, Hemp? If you weren't here before the Civil War, you should be up for deportation. Interesting. Thank you, Hemp Cousteau. There was a YouTuber warning the American indigenous people about the illegal and foreign individuals occupying government positions to block access. Interesting. Thank you. This sounds like one of those movies that I used to watch before bedtime for years. The Asians have been having their babies in America by the dozens. Even President Trump said you had millionaires and billionaires dropping off their babies here. in order to gain access to the land on purpose. They knew what they were doing and they knew what they were training their children for. They were training their children to take over. Sister Janine, our moderator, thank you. Comments. It never made sense to me to have to correct the status when we are correct by being born here. Absolutely, I feel the same way. Now, there are people doing everything in their power to find a way to remain here. They're changing status. They're changing their nationality. They're, wanting to be state national and I don't know, naturalization process. They're doing everything they can to stay tied to the land. And I get it. This is the land flowing with milk and honey. But here's the thing. The indigenous people didn't invite all these people here. The federal government, who's our enemy. The federal government who made us prisoners of war, were helped to make us prisoners of war and incorporated themselves and create their own constitution. The government that created the 400, it's now 445. You can go to the Dr. Kia Pruitt show on this YouTube channel at Dr. Kia Pruitt Official. Go to my community section. You can see the 445 government agencies that exist that are not government, that have to be dismantled. They invited people here. Politicians flew people here. Judges allowed them to stay here that are not even judges. They're administrators. That's why they will have to cease and desist. They're going to have to stand down. They're being arrested. The enemy invited people from all over the world to come here. The indigenous people did not invite all these people here. It's like if you have your home and somebody comes and overtakes your home and strong arms the woman or the man of the house. They now make you a prisoner of war in your house. And then now that they've overtaken your house, invite other people, their family members and other strangers to come into your house, to speak their language, to exercise their rights, to, do their own culture in your house, to speak to you or not speak to you in your house, to call you lazy, to say they work harder than you. And look, even if I am lazy on my land, that's my prerogative and my business. Don't concern yourself about if Black people or people classified as Black that are indigenous people are lazy or work less or less harder than. Don't concern yourself with that if you're not from here. Don't even concern yourself with what President Trump is doing, because he's not your president. He's the president here in America, whether it's the president of the republic or the corporation. That's nobody's concern that's not American. It's not right for people to wave their flags here on this landmass arrogantly or flagrantly, because we wouldn't do that in another person's country. And I keep hearing people say the land doesn't belong to anybody. We should be able to roam freely. Well, you always going to have some type of border protection. And I said it earlier, if you don't believe in protecting borders, then leave your doors unlocked. Leave your doors open. Because your house is supposed to be your sanctuary for you and your family. So the land of your birth, it should be a sanctuary for you and your family. If you just allow anybody to walk in your house, they could take over, which would what's happening. You got a Chinese official being arrested, now about to serve prison time. You got 400 million people defecting from the CCP and celebrating in New York, right here in America, just a few years ago. They defected because they knew that they were allowed to come here to overtake America. You want to know how I know that? Look it up. February the 8th, 2008. You can find it on YouTube. February 8th, 2008, you had the Secretary of State. What was his name? Former FBI agent, former FBI director, Mike Pompeo, went to the governor's conference and he spoke to the governors and he said, I know each one of you have been complicit with the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party of China. He said, I have a report card of how complicit you all have been with allowing foreigners from the Chinese Communist Party to take positions at banks, research institutions, universities, hospitals, serve in politics. They've infiltrated every segment of society because you governors have allowed it to happen. The Chinese Communist Party gave y'all a grade between A to F, is what Mike Pompeo said, and I have the record. So I'm going to tell you to do the right thing. This was in February 2008. I mean, February, not 2008, February 8, 2020. My bad. Mike Pompeo, Governor's Conference. He said, I'm going to tell you to do the right thing. Because what happened is they were even some of the students that were here from China were spies. I didn't say it. Mike Pompeo said it. And they sold secrets and information to the CCP, Chinese Communist Party of China. I'm not going to play it, but you can go to YouTube, National Governors Association's 2020 Winter Meeting, February 8, 2020, live session. That was a 3-hour session, but you can listen to Mike Pompeo's speech right here. Secretary Pompeo's remarks, 2020, 6 years ago. I'm not going to play it, but I just wanted to show you that. He said, y'all need to do the right thing. That was the month before the global pandemic. The next month, they shut down the whole world with the governors of many of these states being complicit. I put the link in the description for you all. I'm sorry, in the chat. So you had a lot of our secrets, a lot of our information sold to the CCP. Thank you for sharing that, Sister Sherry. On Instagram, you guys can't see this comment on the other platform, but Sister Sherry says, my grandmother's history from records that I can trace back to birth certificates. We have 282 years from my mother's side of the matriarch, born in Tennessee, 1744. That's the last record that I can trace. Because a lot of our records, a lot of people's records are, as people were saying, in the Vatican, and we didn't have access to them. Hi, Dutchess County. Time flies. It's been 6 years. They shut down the whole world. The governors were complicit. Then they allowed Antifa and Black Lives Matter to come into many of the states and tear up those states. But the CCP had run so rampant that they were virtually unstoppable. They were buying up farmland and all kind of carrying on. But did you know that Evergrande, the largest real estate company owned by the Chinese Communist Party of China, was bankrupted here in America and forced to liquidate their assets? Bankrupt, filed for bankruptcy here in America. Why here in America? Well, they own farmland, they own land around military bases, they own all types of land. Not only in America, but they also own land all over the place. You have to understand or know or understand or overstand that China was a superpower 3 times in world history. My son, Dex Lattimore, the economist, told me that. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh my God. And I actually shared with the private group all the times China was a superpower. It was either 3 or 4, at least 3 times documented. So of course they were going to try to control the land mass. So I don't know what people are going to do that came over here as children. Deferred action for childhood arrivals. That's what DACA is. This is from the USCIS. A lot of people said I was supposed to be protected through DACA, and now I'm being forced to go back home, but I came as a child. This is it. You can look it up. Deferred action for childhood arrivals. Wow. I got to look it up and see what this deferred action was, because they said they were protected against deportation. Let me see DACA meaning. Let's look up the meaning. I'll go to Google. Google. I didn't know anything about this, but they're on YouTube saying that they don't want to go home. Oh, they're undocumented. Well, look at there. Brother Grady says, do you recall 4 years ago? My computer's doing something crazy. Do you recall? Let me go back to the comments. I'm going to show you what DACA means. Do you recall 3 or 4 years ago, New York in the Chinese Town district, they had their own police station? Woo! You haven't heard anything else about that? That's crazy. No, I did not know that. I did not know they had their own police station. That's wild. And that's what I heard they were intended to do when they were saying defund the police. And President Trump said, hold on, we got to weed out the bad apples. And then we're going to retrain some of them. What he was trying to let us know is that they're going to close the police department when it was time. And then the ones that remain, they would be retrained, and they could be retrained to become a sheriff, because the only people that can enforce the law are sheriffs. The ones that we elect, sheriffs, not the appointed sheriffs even. Not policy enforcers or police officers. But they were trying to defund the police right before Antifa and Black Lives Matter took over and started doing all this mass protests and tearing up cities, because they wanted to have all this mayhem. And then they said the CCP had intended to bring in their military if we had taken out the police department. It was crazy, all that stuff that was going on in 2020. So I just want to see what DACA is, because a lot of people are saying they shouldn't have to go home. They were supposed to be protected. I don't know if they can change their status. I don't know. DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, a United States immigration policy. That's not a law. Policy, statutes, and codes come from the United States Incorporated. You know that corporate entity that the Supreme Court said is unlawful, treasonous, and unconstitutional, and therefore must be dismantled. You know that corporation that the Treasury Department came out in a report saying that they're insolvent? Yeah, they afford policies. DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, a U.S. immigration policy established in 2012, that was under Obama, that protects eligible undocumented immigrants who came to the United States as children from deportation. So it's supposed to protect them from deportation. I don't know what's an eligible undocumented immigrant is. It provides a renewable 2-year work permit and temporary protection. Well, look at there. But does not provide a path to permanent residency or citizenship. I rest my case. So for all the people that are saying, I came here through DACA and I shouldn't have to go back home, we see it, first of all, it was a policy, which is not a law. A law comes from the republic, the lawful republic. Policies come from the United States Incorporated. So it's a policy so right now, you got me right there at policy. Protects eligible undocumented. You have no documentation. You came here as children because your parents sent you here so that you can get some benefits. It provides a renewable 2-year work permit. That means after the 2 years, you have to reapply. It's renewable, which means that it terminates at some point after 2 years, and then you have to reapply. That's what renewable means, my darlings. And it affords temporary protection. Temporary does not mean permanent. That means when That means used to sing a song in church. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And let's replace that with the government giveth, the government taketh away. Blessed be the name of the United States of America, government, corporation, entity. But it does not provide a path to permanent residency or citizenship. I'm reading what's right there. I'm not racist. I'm not, what else they say? Well, if you say that I love my race, absolutely I do. I love all humanity. I also love the law. You should see my computer doing all kind of glitches. Did y'all read that? So everybody that's saying that they are supposed to be completely protected against deportation, you just read that it said temporary and it doesn't protect you, is not a permanent pathway to citizenship. This live is no help. Well, help us, Brother Terrell. Help us. If you have some better intel or some different intel, I'll put it like that, help us. Respect. I'm not racist either, but I'm so suspicious of them. Temporary. We already covered birthright citizenship, which was for the children of slaves. Then children of African Americans, not applied to everybody else. We covered the Siberians that came here, then called themselves indigenous or Native Americans. They came from Siberia. They crossed the Bering Strait. That's why they look like Asians, because they are. They're Mongoloid. They're Asians. Nobody even would have cared until you said you were the indigenous people. Nobody would have cared until you tried to lay claims to the land and got all these government benefits and tried to block people from proceeding and tried to block people from gaining access to their own tribal rights and their own tribes. Nobody would have cared that you came from Asia and crossed the Bering Strait and now you squatting on the land in a teepee. But again, native born is not natural born. It's not indigenous. You're not American. So we covered the squatters, the Native American. We covered the DACA babies, the children. Some of them are adults now. And they're like, America's all I know. And I get it. And I hope you can duplicate what you enjoyed in America in your country. I really mean that. But some of these countries aren't even really, some of these countries are not. When they go back, some of them report they don't like it, but they don't necessarily say it's unsafe. Now, I have heard some say that there's some unfavorable conditions. Maybe they can build it up. A lot of them have said they took out tens of thousands of dollars of bank loans to get here. Some of them even did what's called a lottery. In some of the African nations like Ghana, for example, you can pay people that run a lottery and hope you get picked to be sponsored to go to America. While they were paying the lottery and they were selling their land and they were getting bank loans to come to America to live the American dream that was supposed to be for Americans, some of them are now saying, you know what, if I had saved that money and used it for home, I might have been able to, I could have, and maybe have been able to live a relatively good life. Dr. P, you doing your thing tonight. Thanks. You're welcome, Sister April. You read that, sis, about DACA? I kept saying, well, if it's deferred action, it sounds to me like it's not permanent. You know, because I know working in the University of Louisville, you had to help students get financial aid. And if they couldn't pay it, you would teach them you can get a deferment, which means you don't have to pay it now. You got to pay it at some point, but not right now. We can defer it for 6 months, a year, 2 years. So that's how I know. So I'm like, deferment means you can put it off. So why are they saying they should never have to go back home? Why are they saying they're protected from deportation? Maybe, but they didn't say that was temporary. Now we know. So we covered the birthright citizenship, which is through the 14th Amendment. That was for African American children. The Civil War. We covered the squatters on the land that call themselves indigenous that are not, that came from Siberia, the Native Americans. That's why they're getting deported. We covered the DACA babies. I don't think we need to cover the people that overstayed their visa. I mean, let me look it up. Is it illegal to overstay your visa? Because maybe I just don't know. Is it illegal to overstay a visa in the United States of America? Well. Thank you for being in the chat. 572 people. Look at there. AI overview. I mean, we don't need to necessarily take them as being right or correct, but in the interest of a lack of time, let's just work with what we got. Yes. Well, let me show you. Is it illegal to overstay a visa in the United States? Yes. Overstaying a visa in the United States is illegal and violates federal immigration law. Maybe we need to hear somebody say it. It makes you unlawfully present, leading to automatic visa voiding out. What does voiding out? What does voiding mean? Erasing it. It doesn't exist. Leading to automatic visa voiding, potential deportation, and bans on reentry 3 or 10 years, depending on the length of the overstay. It also makes you ineligible for many immigration benefits. I'm done. Well, let me see. What are the consequences of overstaying? Automatic voiding. Your visa is automatically voided if you stay past your I-94 date, meaning you cannot use it to re-enter the United States. Removal. You may be placed in removal proceedings. Re-entry bars. Over 180 days, but less than 1 year. 3-year bar or re-entry. On re-entry. 1 year or more. 10-year bar or re-entry. Future visa denials is another consequence. It becomes very difficult to obtain a future visa. Increased penalties. As of 2025, proposed legislation like the Visa Overstays Penalties Act aims to increase penalties for overstays to 6 months in jail. The ones that are crying, I had to go to jail. That's not fair. I didn't commit a crime. 6 months in jail for a first offense. There are some exceptions. Disclaimer, immigration law is complex. Consult an immigration attorney for advice specific to your situation. Another thing that immigrants have been complaining about is they've been paying immigration attorneys and consultants sometimes a lot of money, and they're still getting deported. And they're like, that's not fair. But I'm just reading the law. Well, what AI says is the law, but maybe that's not good enough. So let me see. Maybe we need to hear a voice. And maybe we can pull out the law book at another time, or people can look it up. Is overstaying a visa against the law in the United States of America?
Yes, overstaying a visa is against U.S. immigration law. Staying longer than allowed, which is usually on your Form I-94, makes your stay illegal. This can lead to your visa being canceled, deportation, and penalties.
If we are law-abiding people, why would we support somebody breaking the law or going against statutes, policies, and codes of the same government that afforded them the privilege? And yes, many of them do have fake IDs, fake social security number. And you know what? Follow some of the immigration attorneys while they're on YouTube trying to give advice. They'll say, if you or when you present your fake ID, I admonish you to know that deportation will realize that it's false. A lot of them have fake IDs and fake social security numbers. Some of them don't even have to have social security numbers. But I'm just showing you, we're covering almost everybody that's complaining. Overstaying the visa is against the policy people that gave them the visa is saying if you stay over, you can go to jail and be deported. We're having a great spiritual awakening. They overstayed their welcome in our home. Yeah. And tore the house up because it's too many. Oh, I heard that. I can't see this devil giving us nothing that's not in their nature. Nope. Oh, you're talking about the government? Well, their time is up. So it's not that anybody is giving us anything. It's that I hear what you're saying, is that the entities that overtook our government, their time is up. They've lost the war. So you had the United States Incorporated, you had the Republic operating at the same time simultaneously. There are some people that operated under the Republic or along with the Republic that never paid taxes, never was bothered by the policy enforcers because they knew how to execute their rights. But it was still running concurrently. That's wild. Some of them have badges too. The police wouldn't bother them. They didn't even have to have licenses. But now the United States Incorporated, they're insolvent. They're out of money. But the reason why things are being returned back to us is because those entities lost the war. It's a bloodline war, and the ancestors have returned to ensure that things are done for humanity that is correct. And you're right. A lot of these entities went around all over the world causing destruction. My supreme, beautiful, sweet Kia. Thank you. So I just wanted to show, somebody said, deuce, peace. So people will have to go home. If you go to somebody's home when your time is up, you don't want to, why would you want to stay in a place where the people don't want you here? Listen, your family might want you here. Your friends might want you here. But there are a lot of people that have had enough with lawlessness. Now, then you have people that are saying they had to go back home, but their family members stayed here. And I'm trying to figure out why their family members won't go to be with their loved ones. Absolutely. A lot of people received our benefits while we and our parents struggled. And they don't want us to speak on it. All we're doing is talking about what's correct and what's the law. But we didn't invite all these people here. So a lot of people will have to go back home, and that's something that they need to take up with the government that afforded them privileges. For the rest of us that are here, many people were here for many generations. We have to figure out, you all will have to figure out what is lawful through the Republic and work that out. For the autogenous Americans, if you want to know if you need to correct your status, then you might need to go and talk to somebody that is adept in that area. My understanding and overstanding, even from talking to some of the Moors, is that you don't have to correct your status. Some of the Moors say you do. I'm talking about MOOR, like the Moor Society. I think they have different at Temple of the Moor. Some of them say you have to correct your status. Some of them say you don't. But where you're going to get that paperwork from, I don't know. And whose paperwork is it? Because if it's the paperwork of the United States Incorporated, they don't exist anymore. Thank you. Mindful Moment says, we appreciate your courage and integrity in these moments. Thank you so much. Oh, you'll share a link with us? Please do. I agree. I've heard that. Terry says, right, but they're like, you're wrong and bad for complaining about your abuse by the criminals. People have come over here and broken the policy, statutes, codes, and laws and accessed our birth certificate bonds and was afforded government benefits while the indigenous, the first Americans, and some of the newly arrival citizens struggled. And to speak out against lawlessness makes other people uncomfortable because they broke the law. So people are doing everything they can. She does. I enjoy these shows. Everything they can to stay on this land. They also will do everything they can to tether themselves to the indigenous people here, because now they're like, first they were like, y'all gonna get deported too, because they thought we were from Africa. And we just sat back and let them talk. We're not from Africa, my darling. We're from America. Y'all gonna get deported too. Y'all need to speak up. Y'all need to fight for us. No, we're good. We fought for the women who had the feminist rights movement. We didn't have a complaint. That was the other women from European descent. That was their issue. We fought with them to our own demise. I mean people indigenous that's classified as Black. We fought with the brown people because there were brown revolutions just like we're Black revolutions. We fought with them. We protested. There was something that came out of Atlanta, Stop Asian Hate. And we was like, Asians are discriminated against? Where? They own America. But you still have people in Atlanta that classified as Black, brown, indigenous people saying, yeah, fight Asian hate. We fought with the when people were saying that people that believe and engage in same-sex marriage, when I say we had a lot of people classified as Black that fought in that fight. We're gonna sit out on this one. Because now we're not talking about rights, we're talking about privileges. And because we didn't invite all these people here. It's not our fight. And we remember the "we're better than you" comments. We remember the "stay out of the Black community, stay away from Black people." We remember, I heard somebody just say a couple months ago from another country, I won't say which country it's from, I don't understand why I have to go home even though my visa is up. I said, how long were you supposed to be here? 2 years? Is the time up? Yes, but I'm going to seek asylum. Well, Trump put a hold on asylum paper. Well, I don't know why I should have to go home. We take the jobs that you all won't work. I was like, who is you all? You Americans. And no offense, but the Black ones that are on the job, they're lazy. They take their lunch breaks. We don't. We work harder than Black people. And I'm like, well, then why can't you take that same work ethic home? Like we're having a conversation. We remember those conversations. And even if it never happened, breaking the law means that there are consequences. That's all. Does NASARA require illegals to go home? NASARA requires for everybody to be in there. Yes, illegals and legals. Legal. You have to be in your homeland. Now, there may be some people that are from another homeland that may have some ties to the land that will still get benefits. Yes, there may be. I'm sure there will be. But overall, NASARA, if you have to be a national of a certain land. And Guyana did that a couple years ago, they said that we have a certain amount of money that we're giving people per month, but you have to be a national and you have to be home in Guyana. You can't be in America, you can't be abroad in order to receive these benefits. So that was just an indication in a blueprint for how it will work for the rest of the nation. So basically, everybody needs to go back home and re-enter the correct way under the republic. Thank you for making that plain. Yes, I think President Trump even said that if you go home, you just have to come back the correct way. That's correct. And now some of them are upset because they know that they overstayed a long time. So coming back the correct way might be a little struggle, might be costly, or it might take a while. Well, now we've stopped complaining and started creating. Thank you, Face the Nation. So now many of us, thank you for that. That's a good segue to close. Now we're not stop complaining and start creating. And we're not going to mistreat people. We don't mistreat, to my knowledge, people that come from other countries. We eat at their restaurants. We go to we patronize their establishment. We're respectful and honorable. You know what I'm saying? So we just gonna sit this battle. I don't see many of us on the street doing the No Kings rallies against Trump. I don't see many of us on the street saying, please keep people here that overstayed their visas, because we're like, that's not our battle. Now we're about creating. Thank you, Face the Nation. Now we can create the reality that we desire and deserve. And now we can walk as the kings and queens that we are from Turtle Island. I agree. From my experience, it should be changed, or those will continue to come over as a United States citizenship. Yeah, there should be some change, and it should be clear. It's clear to me when I read it, but maybe the people that come here, maybe it's not clear, or maybe they just took advantage of the fact that they could just apply for immunity or seek asylum, or asylum. But it should be clear that if you break the law or go against the policies, then there are consequences. Keep preaching, sis. They lied on and persecuted Yeshua. Thank you. Thank you. Your money comes from your root chakra, ancestral country. What? That's beautiful, Atari. So I want to end on something that I saw. Y'all tell me what y'all think about this. That I saw about who indigenous people are, who the Moors are. It resonates on a certain level with me, but that doesn't mean that it is necessarily, what happened. But let me show you something that somebody actually sent me. I said they wanted me to see this. So I'm going to go to my shorts and I'll pull this up. Let's watch this. Are the tap authenticated notes worth more than the other notes? That's not the one.
Let's talk about the Egypt that you guys know overseas, that Egypt. Because I'm going to explain some things to y'all that you guys never heard before. That's going to have y'all tripping for a second. We all know, or most of us should know, that the very first Egypt existed inside of Tamari. The rulers, the original rulers of Tamari was Isis and Osiris. So if you want to look at the real Egyptian pyramids, they exist in the Grand Canyon, where they've been hiding everything from.
And Tamari is here, America. That was a name for it.
Where the government prevents people from going over there for various different reasons, but that's the main reason. They were the gods of the land of Tamari. Now I'm taking it all the way back. Way back. Okay? Now, there was a great war that took place in the lands of Tamari. I want you guys to understand that there are beings out here, and you've heard me say the term Moors. Moors did not exist until originals had split. Half went with Isis and Osiris and stayed on the lands of Tamaric, and the other half split and went overseas, and they became Moors. And the reason why they became Moors was because of a particular Moorish dragon that initiated the war. This is one of the sons of Tiamat. Okay, he initiated the Great War, the Great Split. Now, there's been several great splits that have taken place, but he initiated that great split, that great split right there that took place. Now, those Moors, quote unquote Anunnaki, because ancient Egyptians are also Anunnaki, whether or not you guys realize this or not. They are Anunnaki. They became the fallen Anunnaki, Moors. They took on the title of Moors. Okay? We are the Aboriginal Indigenous Murs, M-U-R-S. They took on the title of Moors. That dragon inverted all those different originals and took on the title of Moor. They went overseas. Those Anunnaki built those pyramids overseas, wanting to emanate the original Egyptian gods in the Americas. So the Egypt that you guys see overseas is the false-like fallen Anunnaki Egyptians.
Very interesting. Very interesting. But we do know that Egypt was here, Babylon was here, everything started here. So a lot of that makes sense. Thank you for the gift. I'm going to put that video. It is on my shorts on my YouTube channel. I'm going to put it here in the description section, and I'm going to put it. Thank you, Sister Cheryl on Instagram says, yes, the Grand Canyon was Egypt. Is Egypt. They have a lot of pyramids there. They have a lot of gold stored in the Grand Canyon. They have mummies, tombs, all kind of stuff in the Grand Canyon, which is why a lot of people are not allowed to hike in certain areas. Okay, let me get this off the screen. Thank you, Brother William. I have a deep connection, he says, with 13 also. Dr. Kia, loving all of the info. Thank you. I love the number 13 as well. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for the comment. Thank you so much. God bless you. Heaven smile on you. I appreciate you. That's one of the reasons why I made my Cash App Mama Kia 13, because I like the number 13. And when I was on a 14-day fast, Brother William, no food, but I was drinking water. On the 13th day, I had a dream. And on the 13th day, a female image appeared to me and showed me a crescent moon with a star. It was a crescent moon and a star, and then the crescent moon and the star turned into a number 13. And the woman spoke to me and said, go research what the crescent moon and star means, and then research what the number 13 means. And as I began to do a deep study into, what 13 meant in ancient societies, one of the things that I came up with is that a part of our indigenous culture was to associate the number 13 with prosperity. And there was a wise statement that said, let he or she who understands the number 13 receive peace, power, and prosperity. So then I said to myself, so the people who told us to fear 13 actually reverence 13, the number 13. It made sense then. Thank you. So everything is coming to light. The Grand Canyon has the Sphinx. It has gold. So that was Isis Wisdom. Thank you. And on her Instagram is I am the greatest that ever did it, something like that. But I did put the link in there. That was Isis Wisdom. Thank you for telling me who that was. You've been listening to her for years. Wow. I really enjoyed that video. It made sense to me. Over 80%, what do you say, of the Grand Canyon government controlled. Oh, no access was granted there to the public. You're from Arizona. Thank you, Talina. So you know. So this is just for educational purposes only. You can call it entertainment. We're just showing people what we discovered. 13 is your favorite number. There were 13 months, not 12. That's right. There was also 12 disciples plus the Jesus of the Bible, which made 13. I agree. Egypt is larger than the Grand Canyon. Yes, because Sheikh Jacob Bey said Tennessee, Kentucky, that was part of Egypt as well, or is part of Egypt. Sister Osset, that's Isis wisdom. Oh, you listened to her during the pandemic. So, family, in terms of status correction, there's no such thing as black or white anymore. Those were political status or status in law. White was a status that people, even immigrants, would have when they would come over here. It is a legal status. Black is a legal status, means you have no standing in law, meaning you are a prisoner of war, meaning you are a slave, because that's what they consider the indigenous, autogenous people that they classified. First, we were indigenous and Indians, which we are. Then they classified us as colored, Negro, Black, and African American. They kept rotating. We're the only ones that they would change our status every few years. The United States Incorporated no longer exists. Admiralty Maritime Law, out of here. So there's no such thing as white and black status any longer. Thank God. And I think everybody should be grateful for that. But now, United States citizenship, that's gone with the corporation. Naturalization, Trump is even questioning that. Let me see what naturalization, y'all tell me what naturalization is. Some people were like, I was naturalized or I was nationalized. So there's naturalization, there's nationalization. Naturalization definition. The legal process. See, that's what I keep saying. What's legal is not necessarily lawful. You grateful? Kentucky is King Tut. Yes, right. Kentucky, King Tut. So let's look what naturalization is. Some people that says I'm naturalized, I shouldn't have to go. The legal process by which a non-citizen voluntarily acquires citizenship of a country after birth. There we are with that citizenship. That's not sovereignty. It's a legal process. Corporation, you know, the one that the Treasury Department said is insolvent, by which a non-citizen voluntarily acquires citizenship of a country. In the United States, it's the method through which lawful permanent residency green card holders, they're calling it lawful, but a green card holder can become a citizen. So they're tricky with their language. The method through which lawful permanent residents become United States citizens after meeting specific requirements such as residency, moral character, and passing a civics English test. So it is the formal legal granting of nationality to a foreign-born person, excluding automatic acquisition at birth. Requirements: generally, application you must be 18, lawful permanent resident for at least 5 years, demonstrate physical presence, and possess good moral characters. You have to file an N-400 application form for naturalization, completing an interview, passing a civics and English test, and taking the oath of allegiance. I can appreciate you pledging oath of allegiance to the country. I don't know if you pledge it to the country or the corporation. They gain nearly all the same rights as native-born citizens, including voting and holding most public offices, but they may be required to renounce previous allegiance. So, is that afforded to you by the Constitution for the Republic or the United States Incorporated? Let's see, is Trump challenging naturalization? Because I'm wondering why some people are saying I'm naturalized, I shouldn't have to go. Well, so I looked up, is Trump challenging naturalization? And I'm going to show you what it says. Yes, as of May 2026, the Trump administration is actually challenging established naturalization and citizenship standards through several strategies aimed at restricting U.S. citizenship because the overall goal is citizenship. Again, granted by the corporation, affording privileges. Key actions: ending birthright citizenship. President Trump signed an executive order intended to end birthright citizenship for children born in the United States to undocumented parents or those on temporary visas. So undocumented parents would have children, and their children were considered citizens. People on temporary visas, remember we looked at the definition, it's a limited time period, would have children and their children would be granted citizenship. This order is being challenged in court, with the Supreme Court reviewing its constitutionality in April 2026. The Supreme Court is reviewing the constitutionality. Why? Because the Constitution for the Republic grants laws. The Constitution of the United States Incorporated grants privileges and citizenship. The Republic and Constitution for the Republic, the law based on the laws of the land, affords rights and sovereignty. Citizenship, privileges, United States Incorporated, the one that's unlawful, illegal, and treasonous. Republic, Constitution, based on the laws of the land. Increasing denaturalization. The Department of Justice has intensified efforts to revoke the citizenship of already naturalized individuals, aiming to increase the pace of such cases. The administration stated that is a top priority for individuals accused of illegally obtaining citizenship. I'm done. Through fraud or misrepresentation. You can't make this up. Their top priority is individuals accused of illegally obtaining citizenship through fraud or misrepresentation. That's the accusation. Now, if the accusation is not correct, then people need to do what they need to do to stand up for their privilege. Can't even say stand up for their right because they're not even supposed to be here. They weren't invited by the Americans. Restricting naturalization process. The administration has made it more difficult to obtain citizenship by modifying eligibility requirements and adding subjective standards for assessing allegiance and character during the process. Did not I say? It's not about proximity or where you were born. It's about allegiance. Because a lot of people born here had allegiance to the homeland of their ancestry, as they should. As of May, are we in May? We're in May. It's May 12, 2026. It is 11:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just in case people didn't know that we were in May, as of May 2026, the Supreme Court is considering a case regarding the birthright citizenship order, which has been largely blocked by lower courts until that point. Who was birthright citizenship originally for? I just want to know. I just want to look it up because people are saying that they have birthrights to the land. So please excuse my ignorance. I just want to look it up. Birthright citizenship, just solely, was established by the 14th Amendment in 1868, primarily to guarantee citizenship to formerly enslaved African Americans, overturning the 1857 Dred Scott, did they take me off? decision which ruled they were not citizens, because we really aren't citizens. We're sovereign. We're the 1828 Webster's definition of American. It aimed to ensure equality for all born within the United States, regardless of race or parental status, with a few exceptions. That was the addition added. It was originally established by the 14th Amendment to guarantee citizenship to formerly enslaved African Americans. This is why it was brought up in question. But the judges argued that it was applied to immigrants because they kept changing the amendments to the Constitution to benefit all the people that were not from the land for their own purposes, because we were in the middle of a bloodline war between bloodlines of beings that seeded humanity here on the planet. What was the intention? The citizenship clause, which was added to the Constitution, no less, was intended to establish that everyone born in the United States, right, because they keep changing it and changing it, jurisdiction as citizen, ensuring the status of formerly enslaved people, and as interpreted later, children of immigrants, as interpreted later, children of immigrants. You know, like the 18 Webster's definition of American is the copper-colored races discovered by Europeans, but now applied to Europeans, later applying that's what do you call it? Identity theft. So who was interpreting these amendments? The attorneys and the so-called judges who are administrators that work for the British Crown. You know, the British Crown that Charles III was a part of, you know, the one who came here and seceded to Trump. And now everybody agrees that when Charles came here, that was the ritual to turn everything around, and we're no longer on maritime and admiralty law. Well, the attorneys passed the bar. The judges, they're not judges, they're administration. They're administrators. They passed the British Accredited Registry because they're beholden to the British Crown. The British Crown no longer exists for us. That's why he came here during the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence from the British Crown. And all of those attorneys and judges that have Esquire behind their name have a title of nobility. So if you are operating as a congressperson or a lawmaker, a policy enforcement maker, and you have Esquire behind your name, or you're a senator or a congressperson and you have Esquire behind your name, you're an attorney, you're a judge, and you have Esquire behind your name, you're not even supposed to be working for we the people, because according to the Constitution, no person with a title of nobility can serve the people according to the Republic. They all must stand down. And the truth will set you free. It will make you free. Glory, hallelujah. So I don't even know what else we need to cover. Naturalization, birthright citizenship. I mean, DACA, all a part of the United States Incorporated, all a part of party policies that were temporary. Now, nationalization is something somebody brought up. Y'all gonna have to educate me on that one. What is nationalization? And I'm gonna let you go. Okay, well, when it comes to people, what is nationalization? I'm just doing Google search. You know, I need to look at some law books. I do understand, I understand that. Nationalization is the process where a government takes ownership and control of privately owned assets, industries, or land, turning them into a public asset. It is used to secure vital infrastructure, implement economic policies, or manage failing companies, blah, blah, blah. But can you become nationalized? Can a person become nationalized? Because that's what you guys, some people were saying, right? You have to do status correction to become nationalized. Oh my God. You know what? I can't make this up. Where's Kevin Samuels? He said, you can't make this ish up. Well, well, well. What is nationalized? Everything keeps going back to the corporation. I don't know why people are upset with me for highlighting this. Some of you, a lot of you are saying thank you because you already knew it. I felt it in my spirit. I did some research, but now we're reading this together. So let's see. Can a person become nationalized? AI overview. Yes, a person can become a nationalized U.S. citizen through a voluntary process called naturalization. This allows lawful person resident green card holders to gain citizenship after meeting specific purpose requirements, such as being 18, residing in the U.S. for 3 to 5 years, showing good moral character, passing English civics, et cetera, et cetera. So they're still saying this is becoming naturalized. So some people are saying something about they said declare your nationality. Okay, let me see what that means. I'm just looking up. But that's not what the people that are here doing. They're not talking about declaring nationality. But I'll look up declaring nationality. They're saying that they're naturalized. But I'm going to look up what does declaring nationality mean. You know, people are like, you need to change your status, declare your nationality. So I'm going to look it up. A declaration of nationality generally refers to a formal statement or application affirming a person's status as a citizen or a national of a country. In the United States, this includes Form 300 to declare intent to become a citizen, or applying for a certificate of non-citizen national status for specific individuals. That must be what people are talking about. It serves as formal, official, legal affirmation of identity and allegiance. And you have to fill out some forms, paperwork. So if that's what people want to do, declaration of intention was required for immigrants between 1795, this is the historical context, and 1952, marking the start of the naturalization process. Renunciation in some contexts, a formal declaration of allegiance to a foreign country can lead to the loss of citizenship. Okay. And then there are international standards. And so I think that's a personal choice if you need to change your status. I think that's a personal choice. I asked the question, people can answer what's best for them. They kept changing it. Thank you. This about U.S. rights now and from now on. From now, it's about American rights. 1776 original national constitution for America. Thank you. You're either American or you're not. You know, like I'm giving every opportunity to understand and understand the context of the discussion. I'm really reading, researching, hearing testimonies, and all the stuff I see leads to what you're saying. You're American or you're not. Signing paperwork is another contract. It's what I hear you saying. Thank you, King. A particular key lines, harnessing the most energy. Wakey, wakey, wake up. It's a no-brainer. People will leave and they must come back the correct way. And one of those opportunities is through having a gold card where you have to pay a certain amount of money for a gold card and you have to open up businesses for American people. That's one of the correct ways. But other countries have announced that they have gold cards, and their gold cards cost $1 million. What is the gold card? That's the right way that I heard President Trump mention. I just want to look it up. Let me ask Google, what is the gold card? I want to know what you have to do to come the right way. And I'm trying to understand why people want to stay tethered to a land that's not theirs. And I know you don't own the land, but I mean a land that you use the government and the policies to get here. But when you come to understand that the policies that the government afforded you was unlawful and against the people of the landmass, yet you still want to remain, I would think that you'd be like, you know what, man, we all got. They lied to us all. I would think. So I'm grateful for the opportunity I had in America. I was able to enjoy the benefits. Some people became lawyers, politicians, doctors, nurses, ran businesses. I mean, sent hundreds of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars home, build up farms, mansions, homes. To me, I'm sure that the family is appreciative. It's our turn. Because you know who came here? First, it was the Moors from Europe who colonized us. Then it was their slaves that they allowed to have in the 13 colonies. They came. Then it opened up to all these people that came to Ellis Island. Those were the real ones that came on ships. It wasn't us. We were already here. Every dark person all over the world were indigenous. All the indigenous people were dark, but they tell them all they came from Africa or call them Africanoid. No. So it was all the people from Ellis Island. Bring your slaves, bring your prisoners. Then it was people from all countries all over the world that were here enjoying. It's our turn. You mean to tell me you're that selfish that you will remain in the land? First, that we didn't invite you here and ready for you to go back home, but you'll remain here. The government can't afford to take care of you anymore. The taxpayers can't afford it. Now the birth certificate bonds and Social Security bonds that been used by everybody else has to go to the people to whom it belongs. And people have a problem with that. That's selfish. But self-preservation is the first law of nature. The Trump Gold Card is an expedited immigration program launched in September 2025 via Executive Order 1414351 that grants lawful permanent resident status, a green card, to a foreign national who makes $1 million donation to the United States Treasury along with a $15,000 non-refundable fee. It acts as a fast-track investment pathway to residency, distinct from traditional slower visa process. Let's break that down. Trump signed an executive order, 14351. 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 4, 13 plus 1 is 14. Interesting. Grants lawful, not legal, lawful permanent residence. A green card to foreign nationals. A national from another country. You are sovereign in your land. That's the land of your orientation. Who makes $1 million donation to the United States. Why are you making a donation to the United States Treasury Department? Because the United States Treasury Department is in charge of all the monies, anything related to money, finance, banking, wealth, all that, according to our lawful government, the Republic for the United States of America. Only the United States Treasury Department can handle that. Notice that you don't make a donation to the Federal Reserve Central Banking System, because the Federal Reserve is the central banking system of the United States Incorporated. You know, the corporation that's defunct, insolvent. Yeah, that one, the Federal Reserve. You don't make a donation to them, you make a donation to the Treasury Department. So if you want to come over here lawfully, you can make a $1 million donation to the Treasury, along with $15,000 non-refundable fee. And there are other things that you can do. Here's the purpose. That's the application process. Recipients receive a green card, which allows them to live, work, and apply for citizenship. It tells you the differences, et cetera, et cetera. President Trump also said it's not here that you have to create businesses for the American people. You can have a Trump Platinum card, a proposed $5 million option mentioned in earlier 2025 that would allow for up to 270 days of stay per year without paying United States taxes or on foreign income. The gold card is intended to boost the United States commerce through direct investment from foreign individuals. That's the lawful way now. That's the way people can gain reentry. Some people might say, who can afford that? Well, that's not saying you can't come visit. People can come to visit temporarily. I can go to different countries and visit, but I don't get a green card just because I overstayed my visa. I don't get to seek asylum. Because you know who should have been able to seek asylum? Is people classified as Black, because our men was getting shot by the police in cold blood. Our men were disproportionately put in prison. That's on the record. Our men had to deal with, as little boys before they became men, you know, the boys to men concept, they had to deal with the school to prison pipeline. We all know about that, right? Just look it up, school to prison pipeline. Our men, boys, the indigenous, autogenous boys, erroneously called Negro, colored, and Black, were called super predators and were treated as such. And our men had the 3-strike rules. You commit a crime 3 times, even if it's a non-violent crime, you go to prison for a very long time. And sometimes you go for life. And you know that? So, yeah, it's our time to clean up all this that's been done, the prison system, privatizing prison system so people can make money off of our pain, being prisoners of war, families being broken up or choosing to break up for whatever reason. Most people don't just decide, hey, I'm just going to leave my husband so I can get government benefits. That's not how it worked originally. But the government knew that if you broke up, and families break up, people leave each other all the time. The divorce rate is over 50%. So how did these women take care of themselves who were provided for by their husbands? The government said, here's some money. Because if the government give you money, you don't have to try to stay and work it out. We know that. But those weren't, so some of the women took the benefits and some of the married couples took the benefits. But then the government said, in order to take money from Big Papa, I love it when you call me Big Papa, Papa. Wave your hands in the air if you're a true player. In order to get money from Papa government, Uncle Sam, you can't have a man in the house because he's like, I'm your man. So we're exhausted. So yeah, a lot has been done. A lot of programs being put in place. There was a certain thing called white supremacy, that if you were classified as white, you had white status, or you were classified as white because you were Caucasian, or you were an immigrant coming from somewhere else, or a migrant, and you put white status on your documentation, you had privileges above the indigenous, autogenous people that are the Americans on the land. I'm just telling you what happened. I'm just speaking the truth. So the reason why this is an issue is because so many people came here, and they will tell you, I came here with $5 in a dream. I came here with nothing. Remember, I came here and I made it. Y'all need to pull yourselves up by the bootstraps. And so we were like, how are they all making it? Now we know. You saw that woman I brought up on Anton Daniels' show, and she was Latina. She was like, look, I used to be a liberal, but now I'm conservative because I see people that are undocumented here getting all these benefits when the rest of us have to work. So we've been wondering, people don't like when you say this, but because I would show this pyramid too, and I'd be like, look, everybody is doing well, except, I mean, they're doing better than what they're calling white Americans who are in the middle. And God knows everybody and their mama and daddy and grandmammy is doing better than the African Americans who bring home $35,000 a year on average. So we've been I've been like, you know what? Marriage matters. Education matters. These people have an education. They're married. That's why they're doing so well. Not even knowing they getting welfare and food stamps, free housing, which I knew that undocumented students were because I work for higher education. They can buy houses without having a social security number. They cannot even have a job. I've had students that didn't even graduate from college yet that could get a mortgage to buy a house. And we're not talking about a little raggedy house. We're talking about a house big enough to put their parents in a nice part of town in Louisville, Kentucky. Indian Americans. There's the East Indians from the continent of Asia, on average making $100,000 a year. 100,500. 100, yeah, you get it. On average per year. Well, they have education when they come. They have the money. Well, they'll tell you, I don't know if people will tell you they came with nothing, but here's the thing. A lot of them come from the top class anyway over here. I think it's called the Brahmin class, but you're not going to see the untouchables. You might see one or two dark complected people, but not a lot. Most of them are not dark complected. They're not considered from the untouchable class, the lower class, because the dark ones, and all over the country, all over the world, the indigenous ones are the dark ones. They are the ones that are treated as untouchables. They literally called untouchables. There's a caste system everywhere. India is not the only place. We call it class system, caste system. Indian Americans, 100,000. Filipino Americans, 83,000 a year. We got it out the mud, they'll tell you. A lot of them came here with degrees. It's called brain drain. The government and different companies recruit them from other nations to come over here, give them jobs, and then guarantee their spouses jobs and give them housing and give them benefits. I'm not saying it happens to all of them. I'm telling you, all of these people are on top. Taiwanese Americans, Sri Lankan Americans. I don't want you to see this. Filipino Americans, 83,000. Taiwanese American, 82,500. Sri Lankan Americans, 74,600. Japanese American. No, you're Japanese with the citizenship. You're not Japanese American. You're Japanese with United States of American citizenship. Somebody got to be honest. Malaysian American, 70,300. Chinese American, 69,100 on average. Pakistani Americans, 66,200. These are the ones that are given the job of engineers, doctors, attorneys, politicians, bankers, CEOs of corporations, and money to run businesses, and or granting access to your social security number that's attached to a central bank in one of the major cities and allowed to have a business through using your number. Because remember, they don't have social security number, so what number are they using? Or granted access through the birth certificate bond. They might not even know all of this, but they know they're getting money, and they tell their friends and family members, and they bring them over and they allow them to enjoy the milk and honey from the land of milk and honey. Pakistani Americans, 66,200. White Americans, those would be the Caucasians, 59,900, because all of them classify as white, their status. Korean Americans, 59,200. Indonesian Americans, 57,500. The average American, that's funny, 56,200. Thai Americans, 55,000. Bangladesh Americans, 50,000 on average. Nepali Americans, 43,500. And the Hispanic Latino Americans, 43,000. And who's at the very bottom? In their own land. Well, looky here. The 1828 Webster's definition of American, the copper-colored races discovered by Europeans, but now applied to Europeans who had their status changed to Negro, colored, Black, and African American, on average making $35,000 on average per year. This is U.S. Census Bureau 2013 to 2015. So I'm sure there are some updated statistics. Percentage of population with a bachelor's degree, Indian Americans at the top, 70%. Did you know that minority scholarships, along with DEI programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that recruited in immigrant people? They told you it was for Black folks and Black women and Caucasian women, but it was the immigrant. Many of them were receiving DEI jobs. You know how I found out a lot of these people were educated? Many of them were getting the minority scholarships, not all of them. Earmarked for minorities, because they can say, I'm a minority. I'm an immigrant. I'm a minority in number. Maybe I still might have money in the numbers. You know, they want to shrink our numbers here. So they allowed a lot of people to come here, and they even created some people in labs. Indian Americans, 70% have a bachelor's, Korean, 53, Chinese, 51, Filipino Americans, 47, Japanese Americans, 46. On average, 28% of the population have a bachelor's degree. So I'm just showing you what I'm showing you. Cleveland Municipal School District went to India recruiting for teachers and paid them more. Thank you for affirming me. Thank you for the confirmation. Even the teachers in the elementary, middle, and high schools are now immigrants from all over the world. They literally go out and recruit, like we can't teach our own children, like there are no Americans classified as Black or white that can teach in the schools. So can we blame the people from coming over here if they were recruited and they can get more money and more benefits and live in the gated communities and live in their golf communities where they have their nice little golf courts, and I forget whatever you call them, what else you call those communities? Can you blame them? No. But the United States government can be blamed, and that's why they're being dismantled, because we don't know who's under that Trump mask. But what we do know is that everything's being returned back to we the people, and it's going to start with everything returning back to the indigenous people, because they are the Americans. Foreign corporate centers or foreign corporations cater to foreign people. Right. United States Incorporated is foreign. Policy enforcers are foreign. Enemy combatants, they gotta go, they gotta stand down. I'm so thankful for you and the tribe. Thank you for encouraging me every day to hold on as things are in fact changing. I agree. So many days I'm discouraged. Your daily videos are so important. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you. And sometimes I look it up to encourage myself. There's a song called Encourage Yourself in the Lord. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. The betrayal faced the nation has really run rampant. 1828 Webster's definition of American. Somebody asked me, why you got to bring that up? Why you talking about race? I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about nationality, sovereignty. Because it was my son who's an economist said, now he said, and he said, when you study economics, they teach you the real. They tell you, we're not going to sugarcoat you. The corporation got y'all thinking that race is about black and white. Mind you, other people don't go by a race. They go by nationality. They tell you what tribe they come from. It's only here that people are concerned about what's black and white, because the beings that enslaved us has us thinking about that. But he said they taught us when I was getting my economics degree, y'all fighting over what's black and white. What race really is about is a race to resources. I was like, what? Because the resources on the land are supposed to be for the people that's from that landmass. So there was a race for the resources here in America. The Moors that colonized Europe and that civilized the Europeans, the new race over there, the new Europeans, the Moors were dark complected. That they came over here is what we know. Christopher Columbus, they say, was a tawny Moor. He was dark complected. He brought the slaves here. They came here and took advantage of the resources when they made us prisoners of war and stole our land. The plantation did not belong to a Caucasian man. The plantation was our land. Chief Rod Hayes says it's Big Mama's house. Everybody got a Big Mama house when we used to. It was our land. He said, who was the one that was beating us? You might have seen a massa that presented as Caucasian, but who was the one that was beating the slave? It was always the dark complected person who wasn't even a part of the people in the house. The Moors came over here, enslaved or made us prisoners of war. They brought Europeans here. They incorporated themselves in 1871, but they still took over before then. Established their governments. And some of them, like the Rothschilds, I don't even believe they were white. I do not. What makes more sense to me is that they were Moors. That they were the bankers, the original ones. But then they allowed other people throughout many generations to come here and enjoy the fruit of the land. But they don't care about us. I could see it. I could see if it was only self-preservation. Camel Wine says, is it Carmel? Because I can't see the glares in my eye. Carmel Wine 7610. Yes, yep. But they don't care about us. I could see if it was only about self-preservation without all the hate and the lies. Oh, the lies we were told. We came over here with nothing. Oh, I just came over here, couldn't speak the English. I had nothing. If you talk to them long enough, they'll tell you that they did have something. Or when you do the research, you see that they were afforded opportunities. but it's not. I could, what you say, they don't care about us. Michael Jackson, all I really want to say, all I want to say is they don't really care about us. I could see if only it was about self-preservation without all the lies and the hate, but it's not. It's those that were willing to kill, steal, and destroy us right in our own home. That's who people are taking issue with. They're gearing up to change our identity again. And if we ain't watching every move, they'll do it. So we have to not concede to it. I agree. You know, people can try to change up your identity. You have to not agree to be that. When they come to your house, people act funny. And I say they look weak, I can't. Oh, yeah. People say they found something and you can't find something that ain't never been lost. I agree. That's why we need to homeschool our children. Exactly. You are showing facts. No apologies for the truth spoken. Thank you. I love you too. Thank you, Faith Ministry. Thank you so much. That's why the Department of Education is gone. Yep, the Department of Education is gone. They lost their funding. President Trump put a freeze on all the money that the Department of Education got, and then he released it to the states. Now there are many states that will pay you, give you money as a parent to either homeschool or send your children to private school. Our men were injected, yep, with whatever is causing all this homosexuality. Yes, I said it. Thank you, Carmel. And we're not even going to talk about the Tuskegee experiment or Henrietta Lacks and how her DNA was stolen and taken. Somebody said, "You're beautiful." Thank you. Thank you, Sister Carol. Oh, we've been through hell and high water. We're exhausted. Baby girl, yes, you're on fire. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Terrell. We've been called N-words. We've been called lazy. We've been called dirty. We've been said stay away from them. We've been said we're from Africa. They even like they would call you African booty scratcher. People laugh about that. We were told that AIDS came from Africa, and we were sitting there while we were told we're from Africa, and some African has sex with a green monkey, and that's how AIDS was spread. So all you Black people that came from Africa would feel really guilty and bad as you were learning that in schools, sitting in health class and social studies learning this foolishness. While drugs and guns are being flooded in your community, while the school to prison pipeline is up and running, while private prisons are created, while the United States of Incorporation keep changing their statutes, policies, and codes, you can't even keep up with them. So if you break a policy or a code, they tell you breaking the law and they haul you off in court or put you in handcuffs and put you in jail. While everybody can come here and live a good life. And so, of course, people are going, and so now we're understanding that a lot of this was not even lawful. And a lot of people that's getting sent back home are the ones that overstayed visas or committed crimes. We're like, why are people making it seem like this is brain, like some type of, you got to have a doctorate degree in physics to understand. So the SPP, or the School to Prison Pipeline, is a national trend in the United States where policies and practices such as zero tolerance discipline, school-based police officers, and high-stakes testing disproportionately push marginalized students, particularly students of color and with disabilities, out of the classroom and into the juvenile and criminal justice system. How the pipeline functions. The pipeline converts minor behavior missteps that a child would participate in into legal issues. It will escalate it or convert a minor behavioral misstep into legal issues rather than educational challenges. I can't make this ish up. Zero tolerance policies, harsh mandated punishment like suspension and expulsions for minor offenses often trigger a rapid movement toward criminal justice involvement. Police in the schools, increased reliance on school resource officials, SROs, officers, to manage student discipline. Why are police officers managing student discipline? The AP, the assistant principal, used to do that. But it leads to arrests for disturbances, not for criminal offenses, for disturbances that could be handled by school staff. I can't make it up. Educational neglect. Schools with poor resources labeled dropout factories lack counselors and support services, often pushing out low-performing students to improve test scores. They would push them out. And what are these standardized tests? They are tests that many people have said are culturally inappropriate because I can't think of the correct terminology. Y'all tell me the correct terminology. That favored people from certain cultures and did not work to help people that were classified as minority or Black. Standardized tests. That's why some schools don't even use them. And in fact, the state of Tennessee rejected federal money from the Department of Education in 2022. The state of Tennessee said we're rejecting money from the Department of Education because when you accept money from the Department of Education, you have to use their curriculum. You have to go by their liberal agendas and teach their liberal ways and cultural practices and use standardized tests. And we don't want to use standardized tests because they're inappropriate. That's what the state of Tennessee said. Who's affected? Racial disparities. Students of color, just come out and say the ones that were classified as Black. We know who you're talking about. They do. Especially Black and brown students receive harsher, more frequent punishment than white students for similar behaviors. Y'all need to stop complaining. You need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You need to stop saying that the government have policies against you. You need to do like us, who came here with nothing, who didn't even speak the language. You need to stop blaming things on the government and the school system. Racial disparities. Students with disabilities, students with learning disabilities or behavioral challenges are frequently targeted despite the need for specialized educational approaches. What are the consequences? Suspension or expulsion creates a chain reaction as removed students are significantly more likely to drop out of school, experience unemployment, and enter the justice system. Solutions. Restorative justice. Focus on resolving conflict. For those that want to work with your humanitarian project, here are some of the things you can do as a solution alternative. Restorative justice. Counselors over cops. Revise policies ending zero tolerance. I have zero tolerance for a child who can't sit in his class and learn for 8 hours, even though that's unnatural. So I'm going to send you off and get you expelled. So these are the things that some of you might want to consider as you're doing your humanitarian project. I just want to show you what's been going on because some people might not know. I love you more, Faith. Thank you. People might not know. It's hard right now without a job. It really is. You are appreciated. Our great spiritual awakening is here. Thank you. And I appreciate you. So family, I just wanted to show you because people were asking me, do you have to change your status in order to gain access to your benefits? And my answer would be no, but that what people need to do their own research, because that's just based on what I know. What I do know, what I've been told, is that people have to be in their home of their origin to receive the benefits. When I was coming up, they would send me a lot of other African Americans, take us away from our traditional schooling and have us bust off. Yeah, they used to bust us too once I became a teenager to take tests, taking new people away from getting the proper education. But once we get our money, we can invest in projects like a nature job and recycle plastics. Everything's in alignment. Everything's working for our benefit. The educational system is teaching students how to read with pictures instead of letters and words. Wow. That's wow. Can't make it up. But it's over. It's over. Things are changing. Yep, we need to clean up the landfills. Dark Gable, welcome. The American Indian says, or an American Indian, 1974. Thank you for 621 people being in the chat. 1974, 1981, the crime bill didn't pass. Bill Slick Willie is still lying about us wanting that 1994 crime bill. Lying about us wanting it. Really? Written by Joe the Bigot and pushed through Congress. And Bill and Hillary. Celebrities better come forward, you say? Foreigners wanted to be white. They did. They did get on social media and say, we thought we were white. You know how we thought we were white and we were in close proximity to whiteness and we thought we were just above the black people? Well, now Trump is deporting us. We're not white. That's weird. Mother Nature says those foreigners wanted to be white and they got white privileges or get white by disparaging and redlining people classified as black, and that was the contract. Oh, that the Irish, Italians, etc., but it didn't work for the Mexicans. Because at one time the Italians and Irish weren't even classified as white. Remember that? And the Irish were considered the N-words by the corporation. But in order to increase their numbers, they included the Irish and the Italians. You know why they didn't want to include the Irish and Italians in white status? Because the Italians, who were conquered by the Moors, have what's called olive complexion. Why do they have dark hair? Olive complexion, just like the Greeks. Because their grandmothers were black. Classified because they, especially the ones from Sicily, in the southern part of Italy, their complexion showed that their grandma was a Moor. So they had that one drop rule. They had way more than a drop. They had a lot of drops of blackness. So they weren't considered as white when they came over here. And the story goes that a lot of them participated in the underground economy, because some of them came of them already having participated in the underground economy, but a lot of them allegedly had to because they weren't afforded white privilege. The Irish have red hair, which is melanin, because they're third or fourth generation black. That's why last year, all these red hairs were crying on social media saying, yes, I'm black. Thank God. Because now it's something to rejoice over, right? because you black, you cool, you're indigenous too, but you cool, you got soul music, you got soul food. Y'all didn't see all those people on TikTok celebrating that they're black and saying to each other, we were made fun of because we had red hair. Some of us had big noses, we had red hair and freckles. But now the black people have always accepted us, and now I'm so glad because I understand why. It's because I'm black. Y'all ain't see that? Celebrate being black. That's funny. When genders are black. This is funny. Thousands of redheads from all over the world gather. This is why. This is why they were mistreated and they were not counted in the numbers because they were classified as black. So that one drop rule, when they were mistreating them, now they can use it for their benefit because that one drop of blackness or indigenous or Moorish blood is going to save them. I want to see what this person going to say.
Well, everybody, I've got some news for you. And I got to say, this was news to me and very unexpected news. And this is on racial lines. I think this is the first time I'm going to talk about race on this channel and maybe not upset anybody because this is a strange phenomenon that is taking place online right now. And the news is that if you are ginger, if you're redheaded, baby, you're black.
This is news to the new people, the young people. They didn't know it. We knew it. I was born in the 60s. We knew it. But see, we're not obsessed with race like the other peoples. Maybe because we are indigenous and most nations came from our womb and the brother's loin. So we're like, y'all all our children, except for the ones that were created in labs. And maybe even them have some of our genetics. But not that the ones that were created from, I don't know what, animal DNA, I don't know what that is. And the clones and the clone factory, I don't know where they came from. But we're not obsessed with race. We don't speak out about how we've been treated and mistreated.
Apparently redheads are...
Yeah, you better.
I want to see if I can find how they're celebrating. I'll see if I can find, but you can look it up. How the genders are now saying that they're
more appreciated and more loved than I ever have from a community of people in my entire life.
I hope there's a good outcome to all of this.
This whole thing of Loki hits home for me.
And I can just see how loving and genuine all of you guys are.
This past week has been the best week of my life. And I just want to show my appreciation, my gratitude to, all the kind words, all the love, everything that I've received.
Oh my gosh. What did y'all do to them? What did y'all do to them? You know what? I like if this is what it takes for people to feel loved and appreciated, I do have questions. Why is that the route to being loved and appreciated? But also I can sort of see it. You know how we say black is beautiful, black power, black king, black joy, black girl magic. And now I guess gingers are getting the express route, the catalyzed reaction of being called black, all in their comments, flooded as this huge internet trend. So I imagine they do feel loved and appreciated. And I'm so sorry to any of them who are not feeling any love and appreciation before. It is interesting that you need to be referred to as black before feeling that love and appreciation, but it really just makes me wonder, how have you guys been treated?
Me too. How were they treated? I'm telling you, they weren't classified as white for the longest time, Irish or Italians. But in order to increase the numbers of so-called whiteness, the United States incorporated the beings that enslaved us, expanded the classification of whiteness to make the indigenous, autogenous people feel less than, and to create a so-called race war so we could be fighting against each other while they control the land. People need to apologize. Absolutely. And that's why there's a push for integrated marriage. And that's why before Hollywood collapsed, they started showing interracial relationships because they know that the way to be saved, I mean, it's just genetics. The sun is getting hotter. The way to save the bloodline is to, this is genetic. This is biology. If you have recessive genes and you want your children to live, you need to mate with somebody that has dominant genes. Not rocket science. So Hollywood started pushing for the same marriages that they fought against. Ain't that crazy? They told people you can't marry. If you black, you can't marry white. If you white, you got to stay away from black folk. When it was the black folks' genetics that's going to save humanity because every race came from these genetics. So they started pushing for interracial marriage in the mainstream. What I don't appreciate is that in the movies, they often had the woman that was in an interracial relationship sometimes as what people would call a bed wench, like she could be the lover or the mistress, but not the wife. Because even when they were pushing their interracial marriage, they still took digs at us. Wild. Even when they had popular shows, they took digs at the man classified as black by making him a criminal or a hustler or a baby daddy or a man that couldn't keep his penis disciplined. Or they typecast a woman as a loud, angry black woman on welfare who couldn't keep a husband, but she can be a whore or a harlot or a mistress. But you know how they would cast the other women as nice little sweet innocent wives? Because they wanted to seed into our consciousness that we should fight and war against each other. So yeah, we need some apologies. Not from people who didn't do anything, but from people who did things. All races came from the melanated woman's womb. Woman classified as black is what Bobby said. Thank you, Brother Bobby. People can disagree too, but I'm just showing you what we're pulling up. Names of Aboriginals of Ireland and America from the jump. John Smith was Aboriginal from Ireland, married Pocahontas, Algonquin, Sullivan, O'Neill, Clay, and Bickerstaff, and Spry. Wow. Those are names of Aboriginals of Ireland that were in America. Wow, thank you. Don Killam has good information. Thank you. Your son was a redhead and he had blue eyes. Wow, Carol. What a mixture. You think this is the best live you've seen, Malik? Thank you. Doc, on the real, all people come from the melanated women. We can birth all colors. Thank you. Is that the mitochondrial gene that we have? The human race is the only race, Faith Ministry said. And Face the Nation said, I won't forgive until they repent and repair sincerely to the black man, black woman, and black children. You know what? Because how can you repent how can you forgive unless somebody asks for forgiveness? What is there to forgive? So you can excuse it. You can act like it didn't happen. But I learned this when I was in ministry. How can you expect somebody to forgive you? They taught us until you go to them and ask them for forgiveness. I'm not saying that's everybody should espouse to that. I'm saying if people who have offended anybody, they should ask for forgiveness. Some people might say, I didn't offend anybody. Then we're not talking to you. But the government knows that they have to do restorative justice. Remember, even to mitigate the problems that the government put in place, they said, what was the remedy? Restorative justice. They didn't say reparations. They said restorative justice. Her last live was fire too. She was raw and on fire. Thank you. Not I don't know which live you talking about. If you mean the one I did today, everybody can't get access to it. But you remember? But thank you. Thank you so much. But if you're talking about the one I did yesterday, I appreciate that too. Yep, they showed mixed couples on TV. Oh, when I was in the car, that was the one yesterday. I think that was yesterday. Thank you. They tried to give Mexicans their own category, but they said no. We want to be white. What? We want to be white like y'all. And the white tea people said that ain't gonna happen. Well, you see that on the pyramid that I showed, where our Hispanic brothers and sisters, probably the ones with some brown complexion or that couldn't pass, you see where they were on the pyramid, they was right above us. And the thing is, I keep saying we're not obsessed. We're just preaching, we're just showing the truth. Henrietta Lacks had immortal DNA and other indigenous women. But I remember Henrietta Lacks. Look at this. This is the pyramid. Hispanic Latin Americans right above us. Who's at the very top? The group of people that own a lot of the hotels and gas stations. Some of them are the engineers. I'm just saying. So that's all for today. You couldn't be married in Hollywood if you were black and white. You couldn't be a mixed couple. And then towards the end, they start saying y'all better mix. Barack said that the Gentiles will be grafted in. You said the horror culture took over. I know. I remember Sidney Poitier. Look who's coming to dinner. The brother the woman who was Caucasian brought Sidney Poitier to dinner. Is that what happened? That was an older movie too. Don't wait for the apologies, Faith Ministry said, because they may not be coming. So, what'd you say? If they remain silent, you're right. They didn't do anything. They need to repent and ask for forgiveness, turn from their wicked ways in order to be saved. And that's what President Trump read at one of his speeches. 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by not my name will humble themselves and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will heal their land. Then will I hear from heaven and forgive their sins and heal their land. Isn't that interesting when the president reads that as part of his speech? Maybe that was his way of saying that the incorporation that enslaved us was repenting for their sins. We'll see. Mitochondria DNA. There are others walking among us. I agree. It's not just humans walking among us, it's extraterrestrials. I'm forgetting Israel taking over America. Oh, with those who call themselves Jews but are not. Because Israel, we all know, right, that Israel is actually in America, but you're talking about a group of them that's not really Israel. I was going to see if I can show you the And I'm going to get off here. I know y'all got to go to bed. We all got to go to bed. I'm going to see if I can show you that. You probably saw this, but this is the ancient map. The ancient map here. There we go. Because we were talking about Israel. So this is Israel. But I know what you mean. While we're talking about, I just want to show you this. This is in my community section. Somebody put up there, this is why he's saving Israel for last. And it's because Egypt is here. Egyptian seed, Mesopotamia, Babylon, Elam, Assyria, Israel. Lebanon right there. The Great Sea. I think that's the Red Sea or the Reed Sea. This used to be in the Old Testament Bible. I mean, the Bible in the Old Testament. But there are people that say they are JEWS, but are not. I know those who say they are Jews and are not. So what they did was, see, the British Rothschilds, who were Jewish, gave their people that part of the land in Palestine because they said the Jews should have a right of their own homeland. So they gave them that part. And my God, I cannot remember under what agreement. Was it the Balfour Agreement? Is that what it is? I think that's what it is. I think it was the Balfour Agreement that gave them that homeland. And then they were given rights, no right. They were given privileges. They were given money, funding. They were given positions. I know there's and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them that say are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Revelations 2 and 9. Is that 2 and 9? King James Version. So some people will tether them. Oops. Sorry I don't know if you saw that. Revelations 2 and 9. I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them that say that they are JEWS and are not, but are the synagogues of Satan, because some people are not who they claim to be. Now, there's some people that are, and they might look very light complected, but they do have curly hair and big noses for a reason. Because they still have the blood. They're the mixed children. See, what happens is a lot of these Moors will mix in with other people, and then the children of those mixed couples now become indoctrinated and are put over their parents and the rest of the tribe. And they're indoctrinated through the school system. I call for justice, restitution, and restoration, Furs Inc. said. You bet they're sweet inside. Thanks for reminding me to hit the like button. Thank you. Sister Janine must be saying hit the like button. Thank you. Thank you so much for hitting the like button. Jesus is also justice and restoration. Thank you. And if you take the J off, it's Asis. There are other soulless beings that are amongst us that only look like us, but flesh and blood only. Please exercise discernment. Yeah, you never know who you're standing next to. You're welcome. You're truly enlightening with this information that you're sharing. You are so welcome. Thank you for watching. Group silence. There's a such thing as group silence. Wow. Thank you. Only a hit dog hollers, but they need to stop. That's what you're saying. They did it through slavery money? That's how they became wealthy. I didn't know that. Thank you. Slavery money? Yep, guess who's coming to dinner? I saw that. I'm glad that you put that together about them wanting to claim Black now. After all, the disgusting hate. This world is sick. Yeah, yeah. At the 12th hour. Oh, thank you. Stay at the top of the hour. No, stay to the top of the hour. This is my first time seeing your wisdom. Thank you so much, Mother Nature. I appreciate you being here. Yasrael. Oh, I hope they put the real map up too. She said it's upside down. That's right. The map they've been showing us is wrong. It should be turned the other way around. It's been upside down. They were the real destiny swappers. Woo! So this is who they are, you're saying, Brother Joe Black, the Ashkenazi. They've lied about race. They've lied about the map. They've lied about whether or not the earth was flat or round. They lied about history. Greetings, Chief Mac. It's good to see you. Thank you for representing Cleveland's grits or gifts to humanity. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for your kind words. Born and raised in Cleveland. And then spent time in Southern Ohio. And then after that, Kentucky. It's not discussed enough how during slavery, the melanin man was sexually brutalized by the Caucasian women? No, it's not discussed. And then if she was found out, then she was screamed rape. They still do it today. A lot of women do that today. Listen, you can only tell people how to, to be careful so many times. But, you saying Jesus is also Zeus. But, people going to do what they going to do. We talked about the V word the other day. I didn't talk about it today. The Hanta V that's supposed to be spreading. Oop. Okay, Terrell. Said F that person. Thank you so much for all you do for us, Dr. Kia. You're welcome, Queen. Queen Bohannon, thank you. Thank you. Somebody said Tartaria never existed. Ooh, some people beg to differ. The map is upside down. The awakening is massive. That's right. You don't know, Israel was going to take over Damascus. Oh, Damerica, I'm sorry. Is this why they need to reduce our name again, causing us to be renamed, reclassified, deceived over again? I don't know. I'm not going to let anybody rename me or reclassify me as anything other than who I am. You know that? So that's it. I think I got everybody's comment. I hope you all enjoyed the live today. I don't think I'm not going to change any status. Listen, they called me Black. I know where I come from. I know my bloodline. I don't see the point of Dr. Kia Pruitt doing paperwork to prove that I'm indigenous. But if somebody else decides to do that, fine. Do you have to fill out paperwork in order to get the benefits that's attached to your birthright and your blood right? Do your research and use your discernment. But they know who you are. Trust that. They know your nationality. They know your bloodline. And I showed people the video where I did a video with Chief Rod Hayes when he said they going to show us. Everybody going to find out exactly who they are, what tribe they come from, or what area you come from. And everything that's been stolen from you is going to be returned. Thank you, sister. She said they know who we are anyway. It's in their records. Yeah, they are begging for the black. Yes, ma'am. Yes, mystical energy vibes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say yes, ma'am. In 2012, the Spanish president told the Spaniards to mix with the Africans that were over there. He said, we need them to survive. He said, I'm going to make it a mandate for you all to start intermarrying with the Africans that are here because we need their genetics to survive. It was a popular speech in 2012. Mystical Energy says, it seems every country is begging the black man now to come to mix Russia, Asia, and Europe, because a lot of these, because, Europe is a part of Asia, that's why they call it Eurasia. So a lot of these bloodlines are dying out. And then with the sun heating up, because the whole planet is going to turn tropical again the way it was before these beings came out of the Caucasus Mountains. And I'm talking about extraterrestrials and use their advanced technology to create winter. They call it weather modification now, but they created this. The earth was tropical. It's going to get hot again. Recessive genes have a hard time surviving in the sun. You know how they talk about the sun was walking on the water, the S-O-N, it's the S-U-N. And the Son of God being the salvation, it's the S-U-N that's the salvation. It's the S-U-N that activates the pineal gland. It's the S-U-N that activates the melanin. It's the S-U-N that causes, our hair stretches out and reaches out to the sun. It's receiving information and energy from the sun. It's activating. Your hair is an extension of your central nervous system. That's why our hair sticks up. It's getting activated by the sun. Melanin is activated by the sun. If you have the less melanin you have, the harder of a time you will have surviving here on the planet, the harder of a time you have right now. Albino people, they can come from the melanated woman. They cannot be in the sun. Their eyes, they already have some issues with their eyes. They will go blind. If they get burnt, whether you're albino or you lack melanin or you have the less melanin you have, the harder it is to survive. So the more you keep mixing with albinos and people with less melanin, the harder it is for your posterity to survive. They can use sunscreen. Their sunscreen has melanin in it. They can use whatever. They take melatonin to help them go to sleep. They take vitamin D. People classified as black, be careful taking the vitamin D because some of it is harmful to your genetics. You're supposed to be getting it from the sun and your foods. But some of these tablets, it was a doctor that told me that. And nutritionists, be careful taking vitamin D. Get it from the sun or from the food, or make sure that it's natural, whatever vitamin D you're getting. But the dominant genes, it's a shame they tried to make people classify, the dark people think that you're less than when you have the dominant genetics. White supremacy is funny to me because I'm like, well, you can say white supremacy if you want, but my status is the status of white. Okay. You know what I'm saying? But it was funny trying to tell people with recessive genetics that you're supreme over anybody. And that's why people are now saying we're all human. We're all part of the human race. Let's cut this out. We don't want to be called dominant when we know we're recessive. We don't want to compete. Yes, people need us to survive. They need the genetics, they need the energy, but they can't have too many of us around because some people get sick if you have too much melanin around, according to Sheikh Jacob Bey. And that's why he says that's why the cops are breaking up when there's too many people around, even if they're celebrating. But everybody, look, we set the precedent for soul food. We set the precedent for music. We set the precedent for what's cool. We set the precedent for what's swagger. We set the precedent for a lot of things. Some people will say it's for crime too. Where did they learn it from? From the frustration of being a part of a reality where we've been prisoners of war. So now you have people saying that they need our genetics to mix with, and they're demanding interracial marriage in their countries. Explain it all. Japan is trying to get brothers over there. I saw that. I'm like, why everybody trying to take our brothers? Then who's that gonna leave us to marry? Because y'all know people, women classified as Black are less likely to intermarry. They're starting to do it now. But most of them prefer somebody in their own tribe. But everybody and their mama and sisters and aunties and cousins and recruiting a brother, who they're supposed to leave for the melanated woman. Now we're going to have to fight over the melanated man. Like, RB doggone. Or change their preference. Breaking generational curses and spells. Back to sender. They be trying to cosplay like us. That's true. Drake, Nicki, Biggie are not foundational Black Americans, but spread debauchery in their music. They're not from America. They're not. A lot of these entertainers, I agree, foundational Black Americans, indigenous to the land. They're not. And they spread debauchery in their music. They come from other landmass. And they're probably related to the so-called dirty Moors. They might even, some of these people might even be hybrids. You know, we know how you heard about the Nephilim, the sons of God, the fallen angels, mated with the daughters of men and had giants. They created a whole race because they mixed their genetics with humanity. And those are the beings that they put in politics, entertainment, government, law, medicine, health, food industries, etc., and education. Yes, there are two suns, and some people say in the earth there's a third one, so everything's gonna heat up. Thank you, Joe Jackson says, I appreciate your message. Even Trump knows who we are. Oh, yes, he said Black people, the Black Americans need to learn their history or they're going to continue to be bamboozled. That's the reason why he doesn't want to pay taxes on his casinos. He was noted in a committee meeting in the 90s that the Indians on the reservations aren't real. I agree. He said, you don't look like an Indian to Indians, and you don't look like an Indian to me. You don't look like an Indian to Indians. The planet is fighting on behalf of the indigenous people. That's why the sun's heating up. Listen, what I would do if I was trying to survive is marry a certain way. And if I wasn't even concerned about my genetic survival, I would make sure I would treat indigenous people here in America, if you're going to stay on the landmass, I would make sure I was respectful and honorable. Our right inheritance is a blood drop away. There is no application, right? You don't have to apply for the rights to the land or rights to any benefits. You got blood rights. Let there be light, Brother Bobby. All right, saints, friends, family. People would do anything for wealth. Please do this on a weekend. Okay. Autochthony is the term for native, born of the soil. Thank you. I keep trying to say that word. I say autochthonous, but I don't know how to say it. Autochthony. I say autochthony. That is the term for natives. We're indigenous born from the soil. Absolutely. The same genetic material that's in the soil is the same genetic material in our colon. Ooh. Some of those women in Japan are infected with HIV and it passed to the brothers and they became infected. Ooh, y'all be careful. Y'all be careful. Now be careful. God will. The truth must be known. This is the great spiritual awakening. Eugenics and the FDA were used to weaponize us. Oh, you said if you do your taxes right, you don't have to pay taxes. Yet people be knowing those loopholes. The first minstrel show was all from the Caribbean. Both Matan and Moslin and Lincoln Perry, aka Steppin' Fetchits, they're Jamaicans. A lot of people who were in the entertainment industry weren't even us, indigenous from this land, from North America. Wow. They're still spraying chemicals in the sky, she says. I appreciate the information shared by you, Dr. Kia. You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here, family. Thank you so much for all of your comments, for your encouragement, for your time. I appreciate you. So that's a wrap for me. I'm getting tired. It is 1:11 a.m. Well, family, unless there's something else to discuss, we're going to wrap it up. Are all hearts and minds clear? Let me know in the comments section. All hearts clear? Do we need to bring up anything else before we go to sleep? I love you all. The etymology of black is the ether, the essence. Thank you. Soul Tribe, our sister Janine, our moderator, says thank you. Thank you for supporting our beautiful doctor. You guys are appreciated. Shalom, church. All clear? All clear. Good night, Soul God. I love you. Sleep well. Peace, man. I'll let the song play out. I'm grateful for you all.
Through her channel, knowledge flows, breaking chains that hold us close, teaching paths to abundance and wealth, guiding others to free themselves. Soul Tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. From currencies to investments divine.
Thank you.
She's helping her tribe to realign with wisdom.
Thank you for having
ancient
me.
and new, showing what we all can do. patience for one and all. Dr. Kia lights the way to a new and brighter day. Mm.
Good night, Soul Tribe. Rest well, and I'll see you tomorrow. So glad you love the song. Thank you so much for your kindness. I love and adore and appreciate you as well. Good night. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Mac. You sent a gift today. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Janine, for also sending me a gift. I appreciate you. Oh, thank you, Nisha. I appreciate you. God bless you. Thank you, Sister Tamara. Thank you, Nerva. Thank you, Mayola, for the gifts. God bless you all. Good night.